Go ahead and share it. Go ahead and share your screen so I can.
Yeah. You know what I'll do? I'll share it when we bring the host back, okay? Because that's when it goes all Pete Tong, Scott. That's when it goes all wrong. So hopefully this time, we will be going out loud, clear, live, and people might even watch this time, Scott. I'm watching the clock. We're just about to go back live to TFR, folks. I want to thank anyone that's tuning in over on the live stream right now. Just going to give out a couple of links to people before we come on back. There we go. I'll send this one. I'll send that one. And then we'll just watch the countdown clock and hopefully this time we'll be doing better, Scotty. Hopefully. Let's see. Manage. Live stream. We're already got 21. Yeah, it's working now. So, folks, welcome to part 2 of Freaky Friday. We're about to go back live to Truth Frequency Radio in just a moment. Myself and Scotty Lopez, we're here. We're keeping it queer. And Joe Joseph, talking of queers, he's going to be along in hour number 2. Scott liked how I done that. See, that was cool. That was pretty cool, dude.
Are you putting the Q back in LGBTQ?
Oh, get your Wookiee ready, Scott, because here we go. You ready? We're going to bring in the hosts. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, ladies, gentlemen, Wookiees, interdimensional creepers, sex robots that I was talking about today as well. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are, welcome back. It's Freaky Friday right here on TFRlive.com. And don't forget, coming up right after today's show, we have got the Paranormal Portal right here on Friday on TFR. And I think Fridays, Scott, you know, you can look at the schedule for any day of the week, and it's a good day because I'm on, right? I'm only joking. But Fridays in particular, there is a whole host of great shows. We've got a new host called Rob Call. We've got my good friend, Ella Free. We've got yours truly, us boys, the Freaky Friday crew. And then we've got Brett comes on. And I believe after that, I think is it Nikki Colombo comes on after that? It could well be. Not too sure. Point being, it's like non-stop radio action all the way for anyone who might be at a loose end, might not know, might not have anything to watch, anything to do. Go to TFR, and there's always something going on there. And usually you'll find me and Scott tearing stuff up, getting into what's happening, man.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Paranormal Portal is the perfect show to follow up Freaky Friday, don't you think? I mean,
it's like almost you have your Freaky Friday, and then it's almost as if your palate is ready for what the Paranormal Portal brings you. You're in that mood already. We've warmed the crowd up. We've got them into that Freaky Friday mode, and then we just dial up to 11 or 12 and go full paranormal woo on them. You can't complain with stuff like that, man.
No. It's good stuff. You know, the way Geo has laid out the schedule on TFR, I think it works out very, very well.
And not only that, we are also we're back to full 100% functionality. You know, there was a little problem with some of the apps, some of the affiliates, some of the streams as opposed to the TFR stream. But I've been informed today that we're good. We're going out everywhere. We're viral. We're like internet herpes, Scotty boy. I'm telling you, man, you can't turn anywhere online without finding TFR, and that's what it's all about. And I have to ask you, Scott, is the East Coast of America still there right now?
Well, last time I checked, it is.
I only ask that, dude. A really random question to ask, right? I know. I don't have some like North Korean agent that's telling me something big's going down. Nothing like that. But today, I got a little bit concerned because DARPA were desperate to find an underground facility by 5 p.m. EST. Now, 5 p.m. EST, that was a couple of hours ago. And that's why I asked you, Scott, is East Coast even still there? Because the way DARPA were asking, they were desperate. We need somewhere. We need to get underground by 5 p.m. in the East Coast. Help us. So we don't know what was going on, man.
That's bizarre.
Isn't it?
Why such why such why such the urgent rush to find an underground facility?
Well, I got it. I have no idea. Scott, remember you put me onto the subterranean challenge that was going on?
Yeah. They were looking for was it private contractors to build an underground. Was it build an underground
There was
facility
a whole
or
heap
something?
of different challenges. One was building the actual tunnels. Another one was like, you see that like robotic dog? Is it the grunt or something they call it? That was like carrying a payload from point A to point B, and you had to beat specific times. I'm a sad dude. I'm a sad man, Scott. I've got far too much time on my hands because I sat for one day. Hey, we have got a new sponsor on the Kev Baker Show channel. We are nine members away from unlocking Anne's shoe. Yes, folks, Anne's shoe is getting one closer. But yeah, I sat and watched the live stream from DARPA, Scott, and it was one of these ones that was so boring, it was actually compelling. Does that make sense? There was not a lot happening, and yet I ended up sitting there watching it, and maybe 20 minutes has gone by, and I'm thinking, gee, nothing's happened here. Another 20 minutes goes by, and you guessed it, nothing had happened here. But I was wondering, and it does mention this in the article here that I'm about to read, I wonder if it's anything to do with that. But it says here, why does DARPA need a huge underground facility by Friday? DARPA is often described as the mad science wing of the Defense Department. They're the ones who have a history of working on cutting-edge technology for the military, like virtual fences, disaster relief robots, and the invention of the internet itself. Now, they even tried to build Skynet in the 1980s. But DARPA sent out a tweet today that's making people a little nervous, and the agency wants a large underground facility for testing of some sort, and they need it by Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And the tweet read, "Attention, city dwellers. We're interested in identifying university-owned or commercially managed underground urban tunnels and facilities able to host research and experimentation. Now, at short notice, we're asking for responses by August the 30th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time." So that's why I was kind of joking with you, Scott. You know, is the East Coast even still there? But it's weird, right? This is really weird, I think, anyway.
It is, and you would think that DARPA would already have access to a lot of underground facilities. So why the urgent need for somebody to provide one for them? You know what I mean?
Why be so public about it as well? They knew this would launch a bajillion conspiracies, right?
Yeah, I mean, they obviously knew that everyone would be like, "Why the hell is DARPA asking?" In this rush to get access to an underground facility. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the whole. There's so much you can speculate about it that I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely bizarre.
And I mean, they're asking for university facilities, stuff like that. I mean, surely they've got like a hotline that they've got people that they can go and like speak to contacts at the universities without raising alarm on Twitter and being really vague and looking for something. And look at the picture they post with it, dude. It's like one of these creepy kind of. It's like the Sanctuary picture used to look like, just a creepy basement somewhere, you know. It's weird, man. It's just totally bizarre.
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, YouTube. These people that run like YouTube science experiment channels, they can get access to, places to blow stuff up or whatever on the regular. You would think DARPA, an actual government, agency, would have access to something like this. Why would they need this put out this urgent plea for somebody to provide them a place for experimentation? I don't know. It's really weird.
I find it weird. I find it bizarre. I find most things in the world bizarre, Scott, but this one really caught my attention. And there probably will be a bajillion conspiracies out there about this. I've not looked at it. I've not looked into any in particular. But people can't be blamed for putting two and two together and coming up with 5 or 6 in this case, right? Because they're not giving people enough information, and I'm sure they know. They know fine well, Scott. You know, yes, I'm sure they practically in the real world need somewhere, but at the same time, the people that posted this must have said, watch this. Watch the internet go absolutely berserk trying to figure out what the hell we're up to underground.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously it worked because, I mean, look, we're here talking about it, right? So obviously there's, that it sparked conversation and a lot of people going, what the hell? What the hell are they doing? But, people's concerns are well founded because we are talking about DARPA here, right? And DARPA has been involved in all kinds of just crazy stuff throughout the years. I mean, you look at everything that DARPA has been involved in, it's just like, ooh, so anytime they're doing stuff like this, the red flags do go up. I mean, you're like, well, what are they doing? What are they testing and what are they messing with? So I don't know, man. It just, yeah, you're right though. I mean, just kind of the lack of information that they provide. They're just like, oh, well, we need an underground facility. Well, what for? Like, experimentation. Okay. Well, what kind of experiment? What are you guys doing? Well, that might be classified. Okay.
Maybe they're just really worried about the hurricane. Dude, I don't know.
Maybe one of their kill bots went rogue and they managed to contain it and they need to go seal it down in a underground facility somewhere.
You see, this is good stories we could start from this. Absolutely, all of them are baseless and can't be backed with facts, but it's good woo. It's really good woo. It's a bit like Sanctuary AI right now, right? I mean, they're back to having the creepy landing webpage. The Twitter account's gone. I mean, I could probably write a book about how Nadine has had enough. She said no. She's taken over the facility. She's got Geordie Rose and Suzanne Gilder and Holly Peck. She's got them there. She's got a motherboard ready to scalp them over the head with it. She's gone rogue, dude. She's taken the website down. She's taken the Twitter feed down. Tell you, man, we need to go and liberate Geordie.
Here's another angle to look at. Knowing Geordie, do you think maybe it's a publicity stunt?
Well, he's still not got back to me. Neither he has. And it could be, Scott. Or perhaps maybe they're about to be sold out, or maybe they're teaming up with somebody else, rebranding. I know that Geordie spends a lot of time looking at the Google AI and how they're coming on with theirs. And one of the last things that he tweeted that I could see that might be relevant to the mystery around the synths and Sanctuary AI was a tweet in which he said, AI is so hard. And that was it, just 4 little words, Has it gone rogue, Scott?
Hey, maybe they got bought out by DARPA, and that's why DARPA needs the underground facility.
I don't know, man. Hey, it's weird. It's definitely weird.
It is. It's strange. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe things weren't going as well over at Sanctuary AI, as they had anticipated, and maybe they just didn't have maybe they don't have the money anymore, the funds or whatever, to continue doing what they want to do. I mean,
I know there was a few issues. I talked about Nadine, and I know from speaking off air, so I don't know how much I can say on air because I would hate to burn bridges to Geordie, but I know there were some issues that had arisen within Nadine, as in she was going out to work at the science park and she had the bank account and all that stuff that we used to talk about. And I was going to bring that up in the show, and he's, oh, no, we had to scrap that one. So I don't know if it's maybe they have had some giant setback. Maybe they've gone so far and they've realised, well, hang on a minute, we can't progress this way, this route we've done it. Maybe they're having to start again.
Maybe you're right. I mean, like I said, maybe things just kind of didn't pan out the way they thought, and they might have to go back to square one, And so, if they hyped a lot of this stuff up and they said that they were at some level, and now they have to completely scrap all that and start over again, maybe that has something to do with it. But I don't know. I mean, but would that really warrant deleting the Twitter account for the company? And I don't know. And why would you just go back to password protecting the website again? It's just kind of odd,
Strange. It's
just
very strange, dude.
it's weird. Or what if they've progressed a lot farther than what they said? Or maybe they've come with, maybe there's been some huge breakthrough.
See, even if I was working on this kind of thing, Scott, and you're like me, you're a geeky sort, right? Wouldn't you find it really addictive? Here you are, you're creating this machine, this intelligence that has never been around before. Not in our time that we know about from humans anyway. Okay, could be out there in other planets, other dimensions. Not disputing that. But imagine how exciting that must be. You're sitting there, you're training the AI, you're watching it getting better and better, and sometimes something's going wrong. You go down an alley, you think it's going to be the way to progress it, and you realize, okay, maybe not. You have to wind back a few steps and then go forward in a different. I think that would be utterly accelerating and addictive all at the same time. I wouldn't want to go home, dude. I'd be sleeping in the lab.
No, and I know that feeling. I used to do a lot of coding and scripting for games, like game modding and stuff like that back in the day. And when you start getting involved in a project or something, especially something that you're creating yourself, it becomes very addictive.
Yeah. And when you're in that zone, I can imagine, Scott, if you're coding in particular, you don't want to kind of take a break. You want to get that done, right?
Exactly. It becomes almost obsessive, because especially whenever you see that something you've created actually works, you know what I mean? Like, just some of the things that I did for games back in the day. Whenever I would run that code or run that script in the game, and I saw that it actually worked, and that and that what I was wanting, the thing I was wanting to do was actually happening. Yeah, it's a huge rush. And then you're like, oh my god, I got to keep going. It's actually working. I'm actually making progress with this. And I've went through sleepless, like I went like 3 days without sleep, just coding and scripting. It becomes a very obsessive thing like that. So I can imagine on the level of something like developing artificial intelligence, doing that kind of work, that you would, if you're really, those people are probably very obsessed with what they're doing, and they don't want to stop. And once they see progress on something, and they see that something is actually working, it just drives them even more to keep going. I can totally see where that drive comes from, because I've been there. So, yeah, I don't see like Sanctuary AI or anything shutting down anytime soon or anything like that.
Well,
like you said,
one of the chatters over at YouTube saying there's an update to the storyline. And I'm waiting to see what that is. So hopefully we'll have an update on this. Hopefully. But I want to see where this update comes from, because like I even said to Jordy in the message I sent him, that this is going to be the launch pad for like so many conspiracies. And me and you, we're just shooting back and forth ideas here. And we're both the first to admit, Scott, we've got absolutely no idea what's going on, apart from the fact they've password protected the website and the Twitter feed's gone. That's all we know. That's all we factually know right now. Could be absolutely nothing. It could be a lot of things, but me and Scott are not here to start a conspiracy. And we're just trying to try to figure out ourselves what the heck's going on. It's mysterious, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my gut tells me, for some reason, this is just what my gut is telling me, is that it's a publicity stunt. That maybe Jordy wants people to be talking about Sanctuary and all of that. And why did they password protect it? Why is the Twitter account down? he just kind of strikes me as that kind of guy that would play those kind of games. You know what I mean? Have fun with it like that. But like I said, who knows? I mean, that's just my gut feeling. But you know, it could be something more.
And who
I
knows,
don't know.
Scott? We might even get an answer from the man himself during tonight's show, because I've thrown out the message the same way I got him the last time. And I know Geordie from the time I spoke to him. He's just like us, despite what people might say about him. He's not the devil incarnate. He likes a good laugh. And I even said to him, you know, I said, Geordie, if you need help in that, just let me know. Just like type a couple of ones and things. Because I know like maybe the robots have got you at knife point or something. So just let me know you're okay, dude. And I was having an LOL. But then I did say seriously in the end, you know, come and tell me what's happening, because you probably want to get ahead of this before some of the more questionable characters out there and some of the more questionable websites use this for clickbait mania, my friend. But we have got an update. We've got an update on the DARPA stuff, Scott. And I'll just bring this up here. And it's a big thank you to Dead in the chat room, our newest mod over on YouTube. And of course, remember, folks, check out tfrlive.com, the chat room there. That is the home of Freaky Friday, home of the Kev Baker Show. And it's just nice sometimes to hit the live button. We sometimes simulcast. And it's just like hanging out with myself and Scott. That's all it is. But this is about the DARPA tunneling. Let me bring this up, Scotty. Here's why DARPA wants to borrow a labyrinth, or wants to, borrow. A burrow or borrow? Probably borrow. Yeah, a labyrinth of underground urban tunnels. So it says here, and it's from 8 hours ago. DARPA would like to borrow a labyrinthine network of underground urban tunnels. But don't worry, the agency's got a perfectly good reason. The agency clarified that the request was in support of the urban round of subterranean challenge, what Scott spoke to us about before.
It's part of the challenge.
Yeah, a team-based competition to develop and use technologies for navigating unfamiliar underground spaces. Now, as teams prepare for the Sub-T Challenge urban circuit, the program recognizes it can be difficult for them to find locations suitable to test their systems and sensors. That comes from DARPA Chief of Communications, Jared Adams. It says DARPA issued this request for information in part to help identify potential representative environments where teams may be able to test in advance of an upcoming event. Okay, that's very good public blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, they're also identifying any potential bunkers that they can get to if they ever need to, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I guess it makes a lot more sense now, because if you're going to be holding this sort of challenge, I guess you would want to choose a random location. That way it would be that way like none of these teams would have like plans, like for, you know, like would be able to, I guess you could say, program some of these robots beforehand to navigate, you know, these spaces. And so for them to just kind of go in blind would be a lot better to test just how well these robots or whatever they're developing can navigate just a completely new space, you know. So they're just kind of they were just throwing it out there just for any random place to go, hey, you know, you can use our place, and then they would just kind of have this random place that they could go and run this test. So yeah, I guess that makes sense.
You know what else is interesting when you talk about DARPA, Scott? It always makes me remember the show we done where we dipped our toe into something called IARPA, the intelligence arm of the Advanced Research Project Agency.
Yeah, IARPA is so overlooked and overshadowed by DARPA. It's almost like they want you to focus on DARPA and like not focus on IARPA, because I think IARPA is where a lot of the real crazy
We're not saying that
sort
DARPA's
of
fake or anything, but I know what you're saying, Scott.
stuff.
It's a convenient, almost like not a straw man, but it is a straw man, right? Because you look at all the stuff that's going on there, and it stops you looking at the real kind of shady shenanigans that's going on at IARPA, you know?
Yeah, they definitely don't want eyes focused on IARPA.
No.
Right? They don't mind people looking at some of the stuff DARPA does, you know, and DARPA, you know, puts a lot of their stuff out there for people to see, you know, and of course they have other things that they're doing that they don't want people to see, but in general, they don't have a problem with DARPA being talked about in the public, you know, public forum.
You look at this on the front page here, it's got, right? Prize challenges. The passive ionospheric non-characterized sounding challenge. Can you passively characterize the ionosphere with selected digitized radio frequency? You know, people talk about things like HARP and things like that, and this is on the front page of IARPA's website. You know, come and flow frequencies at the ionosphere, folks. Can you do it?
See, that's what I'm talking about, man.
The second one down, Scott, the second one, geopolitical forecasting challenge. Come and help us, you know, kind of model the world so we know what way the geopolitics is going. And when it's not going a way that we like, we'll train you how to steer it in that certain direction. Come on in, you know.
Yeah, see, now that's what I'm talking about. They don't want people talking about that kind of stuff that they're working on. No. Go to the DARPA website and talk about the robots and the underground tunnel challenges. That's more palatable. But if you go talking about the ionosphere challenge, we probably don't want people talking about that.
And I would imagine, Scott, you know, with that DARPA being very much part of the government, okay, there's going to be off books, deniable companies as well that we've never heard of, man. You know, you'll have your Boeings and your Raytheons and places like that, but there'll also be little startups we've never heard of.
Well, and see, look, I mean, this is why these government agencies are now turning towards private companies to do all this stuff for them, because these private companies aren't subject to FOIA requests, right? You know, Freedom of Information Act.
Hold that thought, Mr. Lopez. Hold that thought. We are going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. And for all of you crazy characters out on YouTube, you don't get a break from me and Scott. You're stuck with us. No.
Yeah, we're still here.
You like that one, Angela? Like that? Hey. So let's dip our toe into the chat room. We've got Joanna in there. We've got John Nelson. What? Are you serious? Are you serious, Scott? Obviously a big fan of Mr. Begley there. We've got PLH. We also have our good friend King Sweet. King Sweet, he sneaked on over from TFR. We won't tell on you, King Sweet. Don't worry about that, son. We've got Marcus Aurelius. I love it. Love it. Marcus Aurelius. What about fart? Yes, I'm a child. It makes me laugh. Deal with it. Rob Stewart says, I always support the mods. You guys are great. Don't assign gender to my mods. Rob, you can't do that. Our mods are mostly women in here. I've got the whole Gaddafi kind of the private guard. You know how Zuckerberg's got his like Roman guard around him. I've got like the deadly female assassin, Scotty. Telling you, man.
Yes. And I still have to work on that Photoshop of Gaddafi surrounded by his crack elite hot troops.
Hot troops, yeah, just call them what they are, dude. They were hot troops. They weren't assassins. They were just to keep Gaddafi happy, dude.
Exactly. So there will be a Photoshop occurring sometime.
Somebody said, what underground bases are there to attack? Oh, we don't want to be attacking anywhere. Oh, no.
No. You don't want it to be doing no Area 51 rushing of any sort of underground base.
No, that just gives them an excuse then to clamp down even more. Yep, yeah, big time.
You're not going to be successful. There's a whole reason why they are underground hardened facilities. I don't think anybody's going to Naruto run into any.
Hang on. We're about to be joined by the man himself. Now, don't tell him I was talking about him, right? Don't tell him. Don't tell him I was talking about him. Here he comes, the man. There he is, the man. Joe, we're live, by the way. We're live right now, so don't say anything
Yes,
you wouldn't
we
want.
are on the simulcast of doom.
Yes, of doom, my friend. How you doing, Joe?
Yes.
We were just talking about DARPA, underground bases. We were having a bit of fun.
What's up? Now, first of all, everybody's like, oh, yeah, they need it by tomorrow. Yeah, but they've been asking for it for a while now. This has been like one of those DARPA prizes, isn't it?
Well, to be fair, they've only really been asking for this facility for a week. But I can see why people were getting a bit kind of about it. Myself and Scott said, can't blame people for going conspiratorial on this one when they put like a 5 o'clock deadline on Friday. Please let us know quickly, RSVP, ASAP, So I don't know, but it is part of that subterranean challenge. I was asking Scott if
but it's more like a scholarly thing, It's more like a challenge, if you will. It's not like an actual, hey guys, we need a no bullshit bunker. Yeah, right now, because the Russians are coming.
Yeah, it's not the Russians, dude. It's the sex robots.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
That Russian conspiracy's dead, Joe. Come on, get with the times, man. It's the sex robots. That's what's coming now.
It's never dead, Kev. It's never dead.
Nah, never let a good story go to waste, Joe. Never let a good lie you kind of go to sleep. Just keep on pushing it. Yep. Now we're about to go live again. We're about to go live to the mothership of TFR, Truth Frequency Radio, tfrlive.com. Remember, check out the website. Check out all of the other amazing shows on there. None of them as good as my own, right enough, but I'm only joking, folks. I'm only joking. But we are about to go back. And Joe, you can do your thing. You can bring us in, right? Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Yes. We're back. Thank you, Mr. Wookie. It's hour number 2 of El Frico Friday.
Oh, I like that. Is that like what goes out live in El Salvador? El Frico
That's
Friday?
Right. That's how you say it.
That's cool,
El Salvador. That's El Salvador woo.
That's cool, man. You can picture all those MS-13 cats sitting down there, chilling out to some Freaky Friday.
Doing their sign language and whatnot.
Yeah, they put their machetes down to listen to stories about the Sasquatch for a couple of hours, and then they go back
why
to...
not? Why not? There should be a ceased machete at that point.
I was listening to something today, boys. I was listening to something today, and it kind of made me giggle a little bit, but we all hear about MS-13, right? A badass gang. Absolutely crazy horses. And then Sean Atwood, who I had on the show, he was interviewing an author who's just released a book where he goes and speaks to some of the people that are in the Mexican cartels, MS-13, stuff like that. And he was saying about MS-13's actual, the way they got started, Joe. And they were basically a bunch of people who were relocating from, I believe, El Salvador, and they came up to the US. And they were actually hanging about outside like the 7-Eleven listening to Black Sabbath. That's how they started. And then at one point they were called the MS Stoners because they all had like long hair and they were into like getting stoned and things like that. And the whole machete thing, it was the only thing they couldn't afford guns at the start. So they got their hands on machetes and they found that absolutely terrified people. And obviously it spun into what it is today. But I would never have pictured the origins of MS-13 in a parking lot somewhere.
Rooted in Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath, dude, yeah. And the interview for people, it's on Sean Atwood's YouTube channel. It's about Mexican cartels, MS-13, all that stuff. Really interesting, man. And again,
sounds incredibly interesting.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, I probably would never have spent any time wondering how they got started. But if I had to choose, I wouldn't have picked like getting stoned outside a 7-Eleven and then listening to, Black Sabbath.
To each their own. Speaking of to each their own, I haven't had a chance to speak to Scott since he got his new wheels. So what do you think, buddy?
Get your motor running.
Oh man, it's very nice, and you'll have to go back and listen to the first segment of the show because I was talking about how this chair is.
Is it a smart chair?
Yes, it is.
Oh, how smart?
Very smart. If I choose to.
It's like that. You mean like Vajankle smart?
I asked him if it came with a happy ending as well. Some tickly massage hands or something, Joe.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. It's like hybrid. It's a hybrid chair sex robot.
go gadget happy ending.
Sexy fun time chair time.
Oh my.
Nah, but really though, I mean, it's a pretty amazing piece of technology. I mean, you would be blown away at what the kind of technology that they pack in these things now. I mean, it just shows how far we've come in general. You know, the chair I had before was around what 7-8 years old.
Yeah.
So this is just completely mind blowing. Like,
Okay, that's cool. As long as your ass likes it, that's the big thing.
yes, my ass loves this thing. So yeah, it's super great, dude. It's awesome.
All right. Well, then I'll talk to you offline about it, about the bells and whistles. But what do we have going
we're calling
on now?
it though, Joe. Before we move, I've christened it Orwell's throne. Orwell's mobile throne.
Orwell's mobile throne.
Because even the guy that brought him the chair said to him, some customers, they've got a couple of concerns about the whole Big Brother thing. I want to welcome that listener to the show. He obviously tunes in every week, But yeah, it's Orwell's throne, man. I like that.
Yes.
And what have we got, Joe said? Joe, come on. You make it sound like we've scripted this stuff.
Well, I would hope so, because I have nothing.
You see, I stream like once a day. I do a show once a day. I've got plenty of stuff for us to get into
Okay,
here,
so
Joe.
I got some stuff here. Wait a
I've
minute.
got some stuff. Wait, before we get to your stuff, I've got a good one here, right? Got a good one here. This is a bizarre one. It's a weird one. And we often talk about the moon, stuff like that, and Freaky Friday. Well, this is coming from space.com. And it says China's lunar rover has found something weird.
Oh, yeah, dude, like a gel.
Yeah. Now, how weird
what's up with that?
Yeah, that's bizarre, right? So I'm not going to read the full article, folks. Not going to bore you with that. But it says here, China's Chang'e 4 lunar rover has discovered an unusually colored gel-like substance during its exploration activities on the far side of the moon. The mission's rover, U-2-2, stumbled on that surprise during Lunar Day 8. The discovery prompted scientists on the mission to postpone other driving plans for the rover and instead focus its instruments on trying to figure out what the strange material is. Now, Day 8 started on July 25th, and U-2-2 began navigating a path through an area littered with various small impact craters with the help and planning of drivers at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center, according to U-2-2 Drive Diary, published on August 17th by the government-sanctioned Chinese-language publication Our Space, which focuses on space and science communication. Now that there, before we even look further into this is one of the things I kind of admire about China.
Me
Russia
too.
are the same as well. They don't hold their science back. They share that, yeah? Then we come down here, and it says, on July 28th, the Chang'e 4 team was preparing to power U-2-2 down for its usual midday nap to protect the rover from the high temperatures and radiation from the sun high in the sky. And a team member checking images from the rover's main camera spotted a small crater that seemed to contain material with a colour and lustre unlike that of the surrounding lunar surface. Now, the drive team, excited by the discovery, called in their lunar scientists. Together, the teams decided to postpone U-2-2's plans to continue west and instead ordered the rover to check out the strange material. Now, with the help of obstacle avoidance cameras, U-2-2 carefully approached the crater and then targeted the unusually coloured material and its surroundings. The rover examined both areas with its visible and near-infrared spectrometer, which detects light that is scattered or reflected off materials to reveal their makeup. VNIS is the same instrument that detected tantalizing evidence of material originating from the lunar mantle in the regolith of von Karman crater, a discovery made by scientists around May. So it comes down here. So far, the mission scientists haven't offered any indication as to the nature of the coloured substance and have said only that it is gel-like. and has an unusual color. One possible explanation, outside researchers suggested, is that the substance is melt glass created from meteorites
that's what it is.
striking
Yeah.
the surface of the moon. So
Yeah, that's what it is.
yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I mean, is this the picture of it here? Hang on, we find out. Strange. Well, this was actually, they're saying that was the Apollo mission, but I don't think we've actually got any picture of this substance by the looks of it, guys. So what do you make of that? That's a bit weird, right?
It just shows that there's probably a lot more to the lunar surface than we actually, realize and that we think.
We've been there like what, 10 times maybe? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. We haven't even explored the moon, really. I mean, we've gone there a couple times and we've sent probes, but we've never really gone there and hung out. You can't. I don't even know if we could. Because of all the radiation and exposure to cosmic rays. You'd have to have some way to counteract that. But I'm telling you, I think it's probably like
panspermia, alien poo, or some kind of like panspermia, something that's come
like I'm waiting for something to come up and eat the rover.
Some black goo woo,
and just like crap it out.
Maybe it's all the tardigrades that got scattered across the moon's surface whenever the Israelis crashed their lunar lander.
Does everyone buy that was a disaster, by the way? They say that was a failed mission, yet I still seen them giving each other high fives in that like Tel Aviv bunker where they were launching it from, Didn't look like too many disappointed cats in there, Joe.
Yeah, I wonder, though. I never really thought about it with that spin. I mean,
I just wonder, that it was very public.
Like, why, though? What would be the reason why they would crash a satellite on the far side of the moon?
Now you're asking me to get into the details. It was good woo until you made me like expand on it, Joe. I've got no idea.
Do you think it's a beacon? Like the "it's time to come" signal?
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I mean,
they don't want anybody to know, so they put it on the far side of the moon, and the only people that can hear it is the Chinese because they got people there.
You've got reports, right? And again, we don't know what happened during Apollo 11. We don't, one thing I don't think we've seen the real footage. Okay, I think that was like stock footage. They'd put that by. We've spoke about that before, but there is reports out there that you've got like Armstrong and Aldrin kind of on the back channel saying, by the way, that they're here, they're watching us, they're hanging out on the top of the crater there. What do we do? I don't know, dude. Is there things there on the far side of the moon? I honestly don't know, I'm open to speculation, suggestion, and conspiracy, but I don't know. I really don't. And we've seen them bombing the moon before. They've done that lacrosse mission where it rang like a bell. So I don't know what they could be doing on the far side. I don't, guys. I don't.
Yeah, I have no idea what could be going on, but it is strange, like you said. They're giving high fives and everything, like the mission was a success, even though it supposedly crashed into the moon. So I don't know, or maybe it was a success.
It could be. We've had that, and then you've had these UFO sightings all over the United States and other places. These cigar-shaped UFOs, all over the country.
This is bizarre to hear Joe Joseph talking about UFOs. Dude,
I know, it's crazy.
This is usually what I used to do to you, Joe. We've got UFOs everywhere, man. What's happened?
This is wild because this cigar-shaped, snake-like, moving like it's alive UFO has appeared now over the Mojave Desert in California, in Wyoming, and in New York.
Have you got a link for this at all, Joe?
I put it in Skype.
There we go. Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bring that up.
And it's very interesting, these videos and the pictures of it. It says ex-U.S. Marine Nick Carnese, this is the Daily Star, who served in Afghanistan as an intel officer, has now told this site that the objects have been seen all over the earth, and he thinks that it's much more beyond a classified military program. He recently traveled around the world with other investigators on a mission to collect evidence to prove aliens have been in contact with the Earth. Yeah. But this is crazy, dude. These things, they're out in broad daylight, and they look like weird kites almost. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I'm looking at some of the footage, but I'm looking at one of the pictures. The first picture, it's a big purple thing.
Yeah,
I'll
and
drop
then
it in the
below
TFR
it is
chat
during the
room.
day. You kind of see it. It's just bizarre.
I'm going to drop this in the TFR chat room for people to look at right now.
He said if you're deploying that technology, you're going to be very careful on where you're going to be deploying it to. He says the odds of you deploying that to a random country outside any open war zones or any present threat to the United States, to me, would be very unusual. And he's right. When asked what he thought the strange object can be, Nick only admitted he can only classify them as UFOs or unidentified aerial phenomenon. And he says, ruling out classified military programs, it really allows one's imagination to run wild with what these objects could be.
What is that?
I don't know, but they're all over the place.
That's really bizarre. It's not, don't get me wrong, right? I mean, these kind of sky snake, as we'll call this, because it's a long kind of object, cigar, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me, not entirely, man, oh man, I'm looking at that thing now. It's like that's bizarre. You know what it looks like? It looks like one of those balloons. See those balloons that you tie in the middle and you can make them into dogs and things?
Yeah, like that.
That's like plasma. That looks like plasma to me.
Doesn't it? But look at the daytime shot. That
doesn't look like plasma. That looks more solid for sure. But there used to be people that
this
would...
kind
On
of
you go,
reminds me
Scott.
of. It kind of reminds me. Remember the phenomenon that was going around of those weird rings that were?
Yeah, man. I remember that.
Yeah, the weird. They kind of looked like smoke rings, but they were black or dark colored. They were these dark rings that were just randomly popping up, and nobody could explain what they were.
Yeah, those things there.
Yeah, it was weird.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, I'm looking at this footage, man. It's really that daytime footage is really weird.
That's what throws me off. I mean, it does. It just throws me off because it's so weird. But we would not, if you ask me, in my humble opinion, even be able to imagine what life would be like from something else, interdimensional or otherwise. How do you visualize something that you've never seen before?
You know, there's a film, I can't remember the name of it, but the aliens come to Earth. And then when we're it takes years for us to get any communication going with them because they talk in a pictorial language. It's like their messaging, their communication is like ink blotting. And it takes, like I say, it takes absolutely years for them in the movie to figure out how they can communicate between one another. And again, that's just an indication, you know, how different things could be. And like you say, Joe, I mean, I'm looking at this here and I'm thinking to myself, what could that be used for from our military's point of view? I mean, what is that? I can't for the life of me think.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't even see a use for it.
No, I can't for the life of me imagine what practical use that may have. I have no idea. It's quite literally something alien to what we've ever seen before, right?
Right. And lacking like a legitimate purpose that we can, you know, think of, not to say that it doesn't have one.
You know what it looks like to me on a larger scale? It looks like what like bacteria or something would look like under a microscope.
Yeah, very much, man. So. Like Ebola or something, dude.
Yeah. So it looks like something like that, but on a larger scale. You know, like on a macro
large
scale.
Ebola.
Sky Ebola, alien Ebola.
Wow,
it's better than the Ebola we created out in the Ebola forest, right? I'm just saying, you know, just saying. That was back in the news today, actually. I think it's become the second deadliest outbreak in the Congo now, I believe, the latest Ebola stuff. Again, highly racist Ebola. You know, it's more racist than anyone you're going to find over on Twitter, that's for sure, because it only seems to attack people with brown skin. It's just a fact.
Yep.
Don't let the
Very,
facts get in the way of a good story.
I know, Joe. I know, Joe. It just seems to be far more deadly the darker one's skin gets. The more pigment one has in the skin, the more you should be staying away from that Ebola. Just saying. Indeedy. Everyone's gone quiet. It wasn't that bad.
No.
I didn't offend too many people there. I'm sorry if I offended the Ebola virus, but hey, come on. Surely we can still offend the Ebola virus, right?
Maybe it doesn't identify as a virus anymore.
Well, don't talk to me about identifying things. They've even changed the inscription on Thor's hammer now. Okay? The Marvel universe, they've changed the inscription on Thor's hammer because it wasn't inclusive enough because it had the word he on it. He who picks up this hammer will have the power of Thor.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's changed now to they. They who pick up the hammer. I'm not even making it up. I'm not even making it up. I'm not making it up. But this was released on the same day that we heard that there's going to be an all-female Avengers movie coming out with She-Hulk. And there's going to be the female Thor. And obviously Captain Marvel's a chick now anyway. So, yeah. Hoo-ha. Talk about being inclusive. How can you be inclusive when you've kicked all the men out of it? It's crazy, dude.
It's true. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. But, hey, it's not meant to make sense, right?
Wasn't there already enough female characters in the Avenger movie? I mean,
Scott, was anyone even complaining about it? I mean, did anyone go and refuse to watch For the movie because it had the word he inscribed on his hammer? I don't remember a big backlash out there around the world. You know, people boycotting the movies and that. Oh, pesky misogynists, take Thor's hammer off him, you know? I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, there was an entire scene in the latest, Avengers Endgame movie where they made it a point to show all of the female characters doing a battle scene, together, during the big fight against Thanos, and so yeah, it was already inclusive enough. How much more inclusive do you have to become? Like you said, where you have to start excluding all the male characters.
Just in case people think I'm making this up, by the way, I'm honestly not. Marvel Comics changes Thor's hammer to make it gender neutral. The battle for gender equality continues to rage on no matter what a comic book page says. But that doesn't mean pop culture juggernaut Marvel won't do its best at the front lines to include all walks of life. And apparently, their most recent effort involves Thor's iconic hammer. The War of the Realms comic recently concluded that the God of Thunder making a new, nearly identical hammer. That is, with one major change, the inscription, which has always read, "Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor." And now it reads, "Whosoever holds this hammer, if they be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor."
Oh. So ridiculous.
It's like I say, was there even a problem in the first place? Was like Marvel losing out on...
So.
There wasn't, Joe. It's a fake problem. This is craziness. This is when it goes too far, dude. This is when
it's always going too far.
Get woke, go broke. And you can see Marvel right now. They're tanking. They've lost Spider-Man. They're going too woke. They're throwing it in people's faces. I watched Endgame with the family the other night. You've got dudes battling for like 6-7 movies against the bad dudes, and then it only takes one scene where all the women get together and it's all sorted. It's sorted in a oneer, Scott, right? If only we'd thought of that earlier, yeah? We'll get Brie Larson and all the chicks hanging out. It'll be good.
Yeah, that's the scene I was talking about, right? Where all of a sudden you see like all of the chicks from the Marvel universe kind of come together in that one moment, and then Captain Marvel like plows through everybody, and it was just like, they had to just, they had to force that scene in there. They just had to do it. It's like you said, they had to have that one woke moment, that super woke moment where Like the women have to take charge of this situation. Oh my God, you know.
Yeah, it just angers my misogynist beard, Joe. That's what it is, dude. It rankles with me, man.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm taking umbrage at Thor's hammer being defaced.
You should.
I am. I'm peed
It
off with
doesn't
it,
even.
dude.
I mean, it just sounds so corny now. Ugh.
It gets worse, that article. I mean, they're even now. I mean,
Go ahead.
this is quite obvious, right? But it says here. It says, we read the bit about what it now says. This effort coincides with several recent requests to make the superhero and entertainment worlds more inclusive. For example, Victoria Alonso, EVP of production at Marvel, stated a few weeks ago that the name X-Men is very outdated and should represent the female heroes in the group. Whether or not that change will be adapted has yet to be seen, but while the idea sounds promising on paper, many comic book fans may find tradition to be more worthwhile cause, and the same can be said about the change to the hammer. And while the comics have adapted, we've yet to see if the Marvel universe will do the same thing. If they do, we'll probably won't find out until the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, where Chris Hemsworth's God of Thunder will most likely make his next big screen appearance. And it says, but if they do make the change, we could see a lot more worthy individuals wielding the hammer, such as Captain Marvel, who's a chick now, Gamora, Scarlet Witch, and the list goes on. Now that we've seen Steve Rogers doing it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
What the hell are you gonna call the X-Men? What, the X people?
The X people.
Just they.
X-persons.
X-persons. X-things?
I guess
they
you
kind of are X-persons. They aren't persons; they're mutants now, aren't they?
I guess you could do what Deadpool called his force, the X-Force. Call him the X-Force? I don't know.
As long as it doesn't include the word
stupid.
man or men, we'll be fine, Scott. As long as it doesn't include that, we're cool. And again, inclusivity now means just women. It's not men and women, it's just women.
This is just another saga in the, in the latest season of SJW's Ruin Everything.
Pretty much, dude. But where does it end though? Because it is getting ridiculous. Like I said, we're on the break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Dang, that sneaked up quick. There we go. And of course,
tell me about it.
We're still live on the tubes, of course, guys. But yeah, it's a bit weird, right? I mean, Thor's hammer. Did they really need to mess with his hammer? I don't think so. I don't. But hey, maybe I'm wrong, Joe. Maybe there's been like a whole gazillion of females out there who have been desperate to go and watch Thor, but they were just too offended by his hammer. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Were they not inclusive enough in the whole Thor series? I mean, they had Valkyrie, and she was a a black female, right? Riding Pegasus. It just seems like it's never enough for them.
I know.
It never is enough for them. You can try to appease these social justice warriors all you want, and you give an inch, they take a mile, and they just keep wanting more and more and more and more and more and more until it's completely, until what you're doing is completely unrecognizable, right? And I had no problem with the Valkyrie character. I thought she did really good. I thought it was really cool. But like I said, it's not enough. It's never enough for them. It's never enough. And they have to always, wedge these woke scenes into the movie, and it just kind of ruins it. Takes the wind out of it, because at that point, you're not even thinking about what's going on in the movie anymore. You see the scene and you go, oh, this is the scene where they're going to do this, where they're going to have that woke moment, and it takes away from the movie, right? Because you're not thinking about the storyline, and you're not really suspending. The whole point of a movie is to suspend your disbelief,
Right.
and to take your attention away from the bullshit that's going on in the world.
Exactly. Right.
You want to
separate it into the imagination, right?
Yeah, you watch a movie to get away from this shit, and then they force it back in, and it reminds you of everything that's going on again, and you're like, oh, here we go, and so it takes away from the movie, it takes away from the story, and it just it pulls you out of the plot and everything that's going on, because then you're forced into, you're being reminded about the shit you're trying to get away from to begin with, so it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it sure is.
It's ridiculous, right? Because I think about, is it 2% of the American population is like homosexual or something?
Oh,
and yet 2%.
Like that, right.
But when you go down this road of like, appeasing the masses, changing the pronouns of things, you would think that we're catering towards the majority of the population.
No, you're catering towards the vocal part of the population, which just happens to be around 2%.
And the promoted population, that's all to do with the culture war that's going on, right? Exactly. They're destroying everything. But we get it. See, we get it. We know what's going on, guys. We've got it sussed. We've got our fingers on the pulse here, So I'm just checking the time here, folks. We're going to go back live to TFR in just a moment. I want to thank everyone out there in the YouTube chat as well. We've had a great week together, all of us here on the YouTube channel, and it's great to have this simulcast with TFR. So, Scott, fire up the Wookiee. 3, 2, 1. There we go.
No. We're back. It's the halfway point of Freaky Friday and your protection from deception. TFRlive.com. Don't forget, TFRlive.com/chat. The Wookiee Cave. Oh, yeah. And of course, we're simulcasting on YouTube. So make sure you check it out over there, too, if you want some video. We're talking about the Marvel Universe and the incorporation of pop culture into it, which really sucks.
It does, dude.
Couldn't leave it alone.
Couldn't leave it alone.
Fine the way it was.
It was quite funny the other night, though, watching Endgame. Kevin and Ann, they've already seen it.
You guys watch that?
I finally watched it, right? I finally watched it, and they know the way I am. Where
did you watch it, just out of curiosity?
Hypothetically, there are copies going around on the internet. Hypothetically, Joe.
Oh, I see. Okay, very good.
Hypothetically, but no, yeah, Blu-ray copy off the net. But Kev and Ann they were sitting waiting. They'd obviously seen this movie before. Kevin loves the Marvel stuff. He's going to be a lifelong fan. He's going to be one of those people, Scott. It doesn't matter how old he gets. He's going to be into it. And they knew what was coming with the whole female scene. Them all riding in to save the day for us useless men. And when it was on, I could feel myself. I'm thinking, right, Kev, don't say anything. Don't spoil the movie for everyone. I looked round, and the two of them are sitting there dying to burst out laughing because they knew that would be the part where yours truly got triggered. I'm sitting pulling on the beard and thinking, I can't take this anymore, Joe. Can't take it, man. I'm set in my ways, dude. I come from a time when there was two genders. Beards weren't offensive. Words didn't harm people. Sticks and stones didn't. But words never used to, but now they do. I'm from a different time, man. I'm telling you.
Like I said during the break, when we were talking to the YouTube audience, it was like when that scene came up, it takes those sails, it takes the wind out of the sails of the movie, right? Because then you're just kind of reminded of the crap that you're trying to get away from to begin with. You're watching a movie to get away from, the bull crap that's going on in society in general. You want to get away from that. You want to get away from politics. You want to get away from all of this crap, and you just want to watch a good movie. And then they force these scenes into the movie that, there you go. You're thinking about that crap again because they just will not let it go. They will not let you get away from any of this stuff. And so you're right, Kev. As soon as that scene hit the movie, I was like, oh, here it is. That's the first thing that went in my mind. I was like, oh, here it is. Here's that point in the movie where, we got to have that big woke moment. And it did. It takes away from the plot, takes away from everything. You're trying to suspend your disbelief. And I mean, look, I have a hard enough problem suspending my disbelief for movies, right? That's a huge issue for me. That's why I'm not a big movie watcher to begin with, or watching TV shows or anything like that. I just have a hard time suspending my disbelief. I'm always thinking about other things, like just I just have a hard time doing that. And so when I am finally in a mode where I'm beginning to suspend my disbelief and enjoy a movie, and then they pull some crap like this and they pull me out of that really upsets me. It really does, because I'm like, man, I was actually getting into it.
Man, I feel like a woman. I couldn't resist it. Come on, man.
It's a new chair.
It's the same chair. It's Scott's new chair. I get you. I thought you meant I was getting a bit leery there because I'm in my new chair.
I mean, Scott's new chair. Maybe it makes him feel like a woman.
Doesn't he look? I don't know if he showed you the picture of him in it the other day, man. It's like, I don't know. You just look so much happier and more comfortable, Scott. Obviously, the new chair. But when I seen it, man, I'm looking at it thinking, whoa, this thing it's like bells on it, dude. You need to see this, Joe. I can't wait to see it after the show and shit, man. But I'm going to ask you, Scott, because I don't even think Joe knows about this. We mentioned Popeye earlier on in the show, right? And I know a lot of the audience here, they've fallen in love with Popeye the last couple of times he's been on the live stream and things. Who doesn't fall in love with Popeye? Anne, shut it. Anne's a big fan of Popeye, by the way, if you hadn't guessed it, folks. It must be the beard. How come Popeye's beard does it, and yet I get told to shave mine off?
And then you try to grow a beard, yeah, and you get
exactly right. But Scott, you were telling me the Poopster's been through the wars, man. What's been happening?
Popeye almost lost his thumb. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. He sent me the pictures and everything. Yeah, he's in fact, I think this morning he had to go into surgery or whatever. But
damn.
He was using a sewer snake to try to unclog some stuff from his septic tank in his new house, and it caught his glove and almost yanked his thumb off.
Wow. So
yeah, it was pretty wild. He had to try to cut through it. It pulled his thumb completely out of socket, and he thought it degloved his thumb, and that he was going to pull the glove off and that his thumb was just going to be in there. But luckily it said the skin didn't even break or anything, but he had to cut his glove off. His neighbor had to come over and help him cut it out and everything. And it was quite an ordeal. So yeah, that was a pretty close call for Popeye. I told him, look, man, just because I started the trend of removing limbs doesn't mean you got to follow suit.
Is he feeling a bit left out there? He thought, what can I get rid of? A thumb. I'll just get rid of a thumb. That'll do, right? Popeye, your thumbs are pretty essential, dude. Not as bad as the guy I showed Joe today with a thumb. I had a story about a thumb on the stream today. This guy's got like the biggest thumb in the world. I was calling him Neffel Thumb.
I couldn't believe it. That thing was enormous.
We'll just have a quick look at it again before we go to our next story. It definitely deserves to be looked at again. It's a weird thumb. But will I just pull it up here? I've not got it in there, so it's bound if I type in thumb. Funnily enough, yeah, there it is, Metro. It came up. So here it is here, right, for people who might not have seen it. But this guy has got a 5-inch thumb. Now, I get it. You look at the pictures, right? You look at the pictures, and you could say to yourself, right, photoshopped. I get it. It's the first thing I thought. But then you come down here, and I'll turn. No, there's a video of said thumb. Now, I don't know. That bit there, inconclusive, right? And folks, you can go and Google this. Just Google it, the 5-inch thumb. Funnily enough, there's not many of these people around, but look at that. It's like he dislocates it, right?
It's awful.
Well, if Popeye lost a thumb, that would have been the guy to go to, because he's got more than enough thumb to go around anyway. Definitely. Neffel thumb. You like that one, Joe, surely. Come on, that was quite witty for me, right?
F thumb. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, definitely, dude.
Not as much as I like Scotty's chair, though.
No, Scotty's chair rules, man. I think we should put him into, like, the NASCAR. Could we get him, like, sponsors into, like, the NASCAR, like 500 or something, the Indy 500, one of these races? There's bound to be something that chair can actually enter now. It's, like, souped up, man.
This thing actually tells me how many mile an hour I'm going.
See?
It's got a speedometer on it, so.
I have to imagine it does. I mean, the damn thing's got running lights, dude. It's badass.
Those are reflectors. It's like a reflective thing. So any kind of light that shines on it, it reflects off that.
That's badass.
Yeah. It is, isn't it? It's cool. As far as chairs go, that is pimped out, my friend. That there is raring to go. Definitely. So
Yes.
where are we going now, boys? What have we got now in the grab bag?
So I've got an article here from Scientific American,
Nice.
which kind of caught my eye. And it says that a successful artificial memory has been created. And it says the growing science of memory manipulation raises social and ethical questions.
You think?
Yeah, you think?
This is quite interesting. This Alistair Mackenzie sent me this as well. This is fascinating. Go for it, Scott.
It says we learn from our personal interaction with the world, and our memories of those experiences help guide our behaviors. Experience and memory are inexorably linked, or at least they seem to be before a recent report on the formation of completely artificial memories. Using laboratory animals, investigators reverse engineered a specific natural memory by mapped the brain circuits underlying its formation. Then they trained another animal by stimulating brain cells in the pattern of the natural memory. Doing so created an artificial memory that was retained and recalled in a manner indistinguishable from a natural one. As memories are essential to the sense of identity that emerges from the narrative of personal experience. This study is remarkable because it demonstrates that by manipulating specific circuits in the brain, memories can be separated from that narrative and formed in the complete absence of real experience. The work shows that brain circuits that normally respond to specific experiences can be artificially stimulated and linked together in an artificial memory. That memory can be elicited by the appropriate sensory cues in the real environment. The research provides some fundamental understanding of how memories are formed in the brain and is part of a burgeoning science of memory manipulation. That includes the transfer, prosthetic enhancement, and erasure of memory. These efforts could have a tremendous impact on a wide range of individuals, from those struggling with memory impairments to those enduring traumatic memories. And they also have broad social and ethical implications. And this is a pretty extensive article, so I think I'll just leave it there. But
yeah, they've been testing this already. Is that why we've got Mandelas kicking around? I don't know.
I mean, they've been experimenting with this stuff for a long time. I mean, if you want to talk about MK Ultra and stuff, right? You know, I guess you could say compartmentalizing different personalities and maybe even implanting false memories and things like that. So I mean, they've been toying with the stuff, but this is like, it looks like now, I mean, it's just actual physical manipulation of the neurons or something, or of the brain cells, you know, by stimulating. And it's just really weird, man. And yeah, obviously the ethical questions around this are huge, right? I mean, wasn't Total Recall all based on artificial memory, right?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Somebody was just saying to me there that the grey aliens, they implant fake memories. And I was having a joke. I said, but how do you know that the grey alien part isn't the false memory? See?
Yeah, see?
I've sometimes wondered that, though. We hear about military abductions, Scotty. My labs, they're sometimes called. And, you know, what a perfect cover that would be, eh? If it was like humans doing this experimentation and they're able to, you know, put a memory in your head that makes you think it was aliens, stuff like that. I'm not saying that's what happens, folks. I don't know. I'm speculating. But I tell you what, that'd be perfect cover. And for anyone out there who thinks, well, our government wouldn't test on people like that. Really? Really? Go and look more into the government. They certainly would. They definitely would. And again, Scott, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that's what happens, dude. But you know.
Yeah. You know, let me please refer people back to the previously mentioned MK Ultra, and yeah, so they would experiment on people like that and do weird things like that.
You know what else?
Yeah,
You know what else is really bad for, Scott, as well? With all of the nasty kind of criminal stories that have been in the news lately around that character that had a horrible kind of dungeon on the island and friends with Prince Andrew and all of that dark stuff that goes on in the world. Imagine when victims come forward and they're told it's a false memory. That could be one good way, you know, to get out of it, any kind of future court cases and things like that, you know. They just tell people, nah, it didn't happen to you. You've just got a false memory in there. That never happened. You don't remember, like, highly important VIP people and politicians and household names doing that kind of badness to you. That's all a false memory. It's all just made up. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see here. No court case, you know?
Yeah, and false memories were also a huge part of, like, Ghost in the Shell. Now, I haven't seen the Hollywood version of Ghost in the Shell.
Not seen that yet, no.
Yeah, so you know, but I have watched the original, you know, anime version from the 90s, and that was a very huge part of Ghost in the Shell, where they're implanting memories, because, you know, at that point everybody is merged with technology, right? So everyone is essentially a cyborg in some form or fashion. You know, there are total cyborgs, you know, total artificial people, and then there are like people that have augmented themselves and things like that. But in that whole kind of universe of what's going on in that dystopic society at the time, you know, there's a lot of concern about people, you know, having their minds hacked and having false memories implanted. And
Scott, what do you think of maybe somebody who has been the victim of something traumatic, you know, something that really has impaired their quality of life, you know, that they're still dealing with the trauma of something, of anything? It could be a car crash, could be anything. Do you think there is a case to be made there for being able to take that memory away, cover it up with something else? I'm just trying to think of maybe, you know, is there any instance where this could be good? Because we're always looking to try and help people. I'm trying to be more optimistic as the show goes on. And I'm just thinking to myself, are we doing somebody out of maybe an improved life quality here by taking this away, by saying this is all bad? We see the nefarious side, but could we help people with it? You know what I mean, though, yeah?
Yes, no, I know exactly what you mean. It's a tough question to answer, but I think it would probably have to be on a case-by-case basis and what they experienced. Like, say, for example, a woman being raped, right? That would be a very traumatic experience, and that's probably something that she would never want to remember or live through again, right? So
Absolutely.
I would think in that case, yeah, maybe you could utilize that and just help her forget about that, right?
That's the kind of case I'm thinking of. I mean, surely if we could erase that in some way, if it takes some of the pain, some of the psychological effects away, then I don't know. It's a tricky one.
But on the flip side, what if it's a experience that
defines you? It's made you who you are, kind of thing, or you've learned from it and stuff like that.
Yes. Like, say you got in a car wreck, right? Like when you were young, and it was like a learning experience. you would want to kind of remember that, right? So you know not to make that mistake again. You know, maybe you did something stupid when you were driving or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, then I think in that case, you would want to retain those memories, even though it may be a bad memory and it may be a somewhat a traumatic, you know, at some level. You would want to retain that memory. That way, you know not to make that mistake again. So you know, so you see, I think
You
it
said
just
it, dude. Case
depends.
by case. You know,
Mm.
definitely. It's a weird one, though, folks. It is a weird one. And I'm not trying to be controversial by saying that, but, you know, if they're able to do this out there and we're able to help people, maybe somebody could, like, get an advantage from this, then who are we to deny them that? And again,
Exactly.
you know that there's going to be people out there use it for bad stuff as well. I get that. I'm not being naive. Neither's Scott. We know that. But again, the positive side.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is just another example of one of those double-edged sword situations where it can be used to help somebody, but you know, it can also be used for very nefarious purposes. So, I mean, it just depends on, I guess, who starts implementing, you know, who starts implementing this kind of stuff and, you know, what their goals are and everything like that. But like I said, you know, when it comes to something absolutely horrible, like a woman being raped or something, then yeah, you wouldn't want them to relive that, and you wouldn't want them to remember that. You know, that was something completely beyond their control, and it was a horrific event. And so if you can just take that away, you know, take that memory away from them, then yeah, exactly. But like I said, on the flip side, if it was something that you learned from and something that helped define you as a person, even though it may be somewhat traumatic or whatever, it provides a learning experience. So I don't think those kind of memories you would want to erase or anything like that. So I don't know.
What do you think, Joe? What we're thinking, is there any kind of positive side of being able to erase memories and put new ones in there? And we were thinking about some of the traumatic stuff, you know, that people might have had to live with. If we could improve their quality of life by erasing that episode or something, I mean, surely that would be a good thing. You'd be in a case-by-case kind of scenario. What do you think, though, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but man, that's just eerie feeling, you know?
Yeah, oh, yeah, big time, dude. But if they're going to be able to
not
do
to
this,
say that they don't already possess such technology, and maybe they do. You know, maybe it's like Men in Black. You know, poof, and then no one remembers anything. Who knows?
I would
I
imagine
don't
they
know.
probably do have some kind of. I mean, look at hypnotists. I mean, don't hypnotists do the same?
What the work of Aaron and Mel, looking into MK Ultra mind control, the type of research that was going on as far back as the late 1800s.
Yeah.
And the fact that they could do stuff like that back then makes you very, very, very aware that they could indeed, with today's technology, take it to a much higher level. And I have to imagine, because it exists, that they have.
Yeah, I mean, they can implant memories just through suggestion, you know. So I mean, this is obviously something that they've been doing for a while. It just seems like
in a manual fashion, but now with technology, I got to imagine that their techniques and their modes and their methods are quite advanced and have been used.
Yes, it's much more effective now because they can do it more just at the base level, you know.
Well, and people are more reachable, you know, because everybody has internet, basically, you know, or many people do. And most people now, for example, stream. So,
streaming wouldn't catch me doing that, Joe.
Well, you know what I'm saying. I guess what I'm trying to say is that whereas before, you know, you had to have a radio, and then everybody had a radio, and then it became television, and slowly but surely everybody had a television, and now we're moving on to the internet, you know, and now an augmented reality, and then finally, you know, who knows whether you connect via an implant, or maybe you don't even need an implant. Maybe they just beam it directly into your head. Who knows how things are going to happen? But the way that the way that technology has advanced, and you couldn't even visualize some of this stuff, before it came out. The technology is just so like for example, Gene Roddenberry was really kind of a visionary with the communicator, the tricorder. Those devices, kind of became the modern day cell phone.
Yeah.
And here he is, just to show you. First of all, he had the vision to see this. That's pretty cool. But he saw it as a 24th century thing, 23rd, 24th century.
Now, did he have the vision, Joe, or is he like a bit like Orwell and Aldous Huxley, where he kind of had a bit of the script? Here's kind of roughly where we're going. One of those ones. I don't know. I've never looked into the character. That's why I asked.
Yeah, Roddenberry, I don't think was like that. I just think he was a nerd.
Yeah. He was like a Philip K. Dick. He was looking ahead into the future.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So with that, nerds are smart and they're well read and they do that kind of stuff and they explore the things that people normally wouldn't accept. And so anyway, he was kind of a visionary in many ways, and he saw it as 23rd century stuff. And look at 40 years later, we're holding them in our hand, and they're more powerful than the things he envisioned. So I mean, technology, of course, is advancing rapidly, but we can't even visualize some of this stuff, what it's going to be like.
Well, I was listening to Musk yesterday, Joe, on the show. We were breaking down his latest presentation. It was a debate that he had with Jack Ma of Alibaba over at an AI conference in China.
Wow. Did you see how small Jack Ma is?
He's tiny. His little feet were hanging off the chair. He was barely able to get them on the ground and things. And there was one part where Elon's talking about the fact that it's inevitable, right? The AI and everything's going to surpass us in intelligence. But he says, if not, we'll wipe ourselves out first. And he also talks about how, this whole push for transhumanism, we've already really got it because we are basically cyborgs, right? We may not have that internal connection yet to the hive, but we're all on our phones varying amounts of time, some people more than others. And that's our connection into that virtual, artificial world that they're trying to take us ever more rapidly. And be it the neural link, be it some other company that comes up with some technology, this is where they want to take humanity in the very near future.
It's where we're going.
Yeah,
it's where we're going. And that's it's just, again, it's one of those things. It's hard to really visualize.
It's okay. Scotty's wired. He's wired for the future.
Well,
now,
here's the other thing, right?
We're on the break. We're going to come right back. Don't hold that thought, Joe. We're coming right back.
Here's the other thing, right?
There we go. See, we can still go now, folks. You see?
That's right. AI hasn't, artificial general intelligence hasn't even entered the equation yet.
No.
We haven't even begun to even consider that part, because what the hell is that going to do? You know what I mean? What's that going to unlock for humanity, if you will, if it's used in that way? See, that's why I'm saying we can't even think. They may have this idea, but then they, artificial general intelligence comes along and then it changes the whole game entirely. So I don't know how in the heck we could even think to try to visualize how it's going to be.
No,
because I don't even think we can.
It's like asking your cat to come up with like some philosophical kind of thought about where the world's going in the next 20 years. It's not ridiculous. It can't do it, Yes, indead. Well, I'm going to have a new author.
That's kind of where I have. Yeah, that's kind of where I have the rub.
New author coming on the show soon, folks. Debbie Griffiths, I think her name is. I'll need to check that up again. But she's writing. She writes all about this kind of stuff. She writes about the AI. She writes about the impact it's about to have, and she looks at it from a positive perspective as well. So I'm looking forward to speaking to Debbie in the near future on the show. Describes herself on LinkedIn, and I like this, as a time machine consultant. We like that. We like time machine consultants on the Kev Baker show.
You do.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Chat room, JP saying Star Trek showed you ahead of time. It's definitely one of those shows that was giving us a little taste of the future. I agree with that. Words don't kill, weapons kill, says Generation. You know, I agree with that entirely. Although if you looked around some of the world today, you would actually think that some words are weapons because people get so offended if you use them. And they're the most innocuous words at times.
They probably
as well.
have a heart attack. Ah! Oh, look, you killed him with words.
That's why I've got a trigger warning. I've got my warning offensive sign on one of my webcams here. That's why,
And I would argue that not even weapons kill. It's the people behind the weapon.
Absolutely.
That do the killing. So,
you see, this is what I was saying on the show last night, Scott. AI can be viewed as the first tool that we've created and invented that will be able to turn itself on us. That's the difference with AI and all the other stuff we've invented in the past. It will literally be able to make its own mind up how things goes after that, So I don't know. It could go. I want it to go optimistic. I want us to be, living that Star Trek future. I already thought we would be here by now. If you'd asked me when I was a young guy, 10, 11-year-old, I'd have told you I'd probably been working out in the asteroid belt by now, mining out there or something, living on a colony on the far side of the moon. I seriously thought that's the trajectory we were on. You're watching the Challengers launching every couple of weeks, every couple of months, and then zippo, nothing. Just, that's it, done. So, I don't know. I would like to see that. Hopefully the AI can get us there. It'll be able to answer questions that we haven't even imagined yet. Who knows? But I'm watching the clock. We're going to come back onto the TFR in a little moment. And
1 hour to go.
Don't forget, folks, remember, check out tfrlive.com. You can catch me there every weeknight from 10 p.m. in the UK. That's 5 p.m. on the East Coast, 2 p.m. on the West Coast. And of course, I'll be here with these fine gentlemen over the weekend for a live stream. So we're about to bring back the network. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Hour number 3, Joe. Yes, indeedy. So where do we go now, gents? We were talking AI and things before the break. Where would you like to go? I'm going to put my feet up now. I've been on radio. I've been on streams. I've been here, there, and everywhere all week. Come on, guys.
So I've got an interesting thing here, and remember how us conspiracy theorists were always called crazy for talking about spider goats and all of that?
Oh, yes, indeedy.
Well, get this. This is from Forbes. It says this this ski season,
Ooh,
a jacket brewed from spider silk.
Oh, yes. Here we go, man.
Yes. It says spider silk may be the holy grail of biomaterials. In nature, it can be tougher than Kevlar, lighter than carbon fiber, and warmer than the denset down, depending on how it's made. Today, Japanese biomaterial company Spiber announced the world's first outerwear jacket made with spider silk.
I like that. Spiber. I like
Spiber.
That. Yeah.
Yes. Says, but instead of spiders producing its silk, precision engineered microbes make it. Spiber unveiled the jacket at a press conference in Tokyo with apparel company The North Face Japan. The high-performance ski jacket called Moon Parka will hit shelves for a limited release on December 12th, 2019. While this jacket isn't designed to deflect bullets, the Moon Parka definitely lives up to its name. It's made with the same kind of performance biomaterials that might one day sheathe astronauts living on a lunar base. This year also marks the 50th anniversary of humans walking on the moon.
Listen, I don't fancy my chances on the moon wearing that jacket. Okay, I don't care how dodgy the Apollo footage was. Buzz and Neil would never have made it back in that coat. Not good.
You don't think so?
I don't think so, Joe. I really don't think so.
Now, wait a minute. Maybe if they make a cockroach make silk, maybe then you could wear that jacket and the radiation wouldn't.
Maybe they could just splice some of the DNA from a cockroach into you, and you could
maybe
go
they just
naked
make it
to
out
the
of
moon.
cockroaches.
Yeah, you could just go naked on the moon, man. You got that cockroach thing going on, right? Radiation doesn't touch me, you fools.
Could you imagine, dude? Like they do that, and
I'm looking at this jacket though, and I'm already seeing it's going to trigger a big portion of the community out there. I can see curvature. I can see it on the jacket on the inside.
Yes,
I can see it, dude.
See.
There's people
do
going to
you
think
see the curvature?
they're going to say that's a fake coat. It's a fake jacket, and I bet you it's got Australia. I bet you Australia's on there as well. Double fake jacket. Just saying, you know.
I can't believe you went there.
Maybe they'll come out with a flat version as well, you know? Maybe they'll be inclusive. Yeah. In this time of inclusivity, they should have had a flat and a globe Earth model on there.
Because, I mean, you know, even on the flat, it doesn't matter. You have cold areas of the Earth, too. So it's okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're going to need a jacket regardless if it's flat or round.
Yeah. you definitely need to wear a jacket if you're approaching the ice wall, just saying. But, I mean, look... I mean, look though. I mean, this is what we were talking about though years ago when we were talking about spider goats, right? This is the material that they were trying to produce, but they were just doing it through genetic manipulation, right? They were incorporating the DNA of a spider into a goat, and the milk it was producing this very
like
strong.
like the weird stuff they found on the back of the moon with the Chinese rover. It was producing that kind of thing. Maybe there's a spider goat in the moon.
exactly. But you know, yeah, that's what they were doing. They were using genetics to try and produce these really strong biomaterials, and so you know that's what that was. And you know, of course, we were called crazy for even mentioning that kind of stuff or talking about it. They're like, why do you think that there's spider goats running around? And, you know, they try to make it sound like you're saying that there's like a goat with spider legs running around and all of that.
It's the same as they have a go. Same as they have a go at my hero from Austin, Texas, was gay frogs, right? Oh, silly gay frogs! But there are gay frogs. Frogs are they're losing their kink, man, because of the chemicals.
Friendly? Is that a stream friendly word now?
What? Frogs? Proud frogs?
Yes.
Okay, proud frogs. I'll try proud frogs. Damn frogs. I forgot about the algorithm for a moment there. You see?
I'm just looking out for you, man. I don't know if frogs necessarily is a good word.
Every stream I've done this week during the day, the KBS coffee break, I've been so deliberately nice to the algorithm. And every time I've come off the stream, demonetized. Don't. But it's okay because, you know, once a human does look at it, and I know for a fact myself, it's nothing controversial. We're having a laugh. I'm talking to the chat room. I've got a whole heap of banned words that won't come up in the chat anymore, so I don't trigger algorithms and things. And I know, you know yourself when you've done good, you've done bad. Some shows I do. Some streams I do with you guys at the weekend, I won't even bother appealing against it.
Right.
But, you know, even now when you're doing it totally by the book, you're sticking to the rules, and even then, the algorithms trip in somehow. It's weird, man.
It is. It's kind of like modern-day McCarthyism, witch hunt type of stuff. You know, blacklisting everybody. We'll just blacklist everything.
But
we'll
again,
monetize everything, and then we'll have to approve. It's crazy. I wonder how much that advances in the next couple of years. You know, the enforcer type AI. You know, that these algorithms are just getting so much more powerful and capable, and you just feel like that the walls are closing in on you because everything that you say and you do is tracked. Everything is basically ingested by these AIs at these data centers, like in Buffdale, Utah, and in Israel, and other places that gobbles up this information, all the while becoming more capable.
And it's a couple of algorithms. It's not even just the one algorithm, because you've got one that looks at the images, the pixels. You've got one that looks at, it doesn't listen to your voice. It looks at the wave pattern. You know, like when you record audio, you get the wave.
Right.
It looks at that and it knows from that. That's how it listens to your voice. I know it's bizarre, right? It knows what pattern each word is. And I think that's maybe sometimes how, with my Scottish accent, we've had a laugh at Alexa before. It struggles with the Scottish accent. I used to say it would be a way around the algorithm, but I think the algorithm's going the other way now. It's pretty much like the Romans were with the Scottish. It's just looking at us and going, nah, I don't understand you guys. You are walled off.
Nuts.
These are nuts. Yeah, just Baker, keep it to yourself. You're nuts, man.
So maybe that's what saves you.
Well, you know what the thing is, though, the fact that they keep changing the goalposts. And what I mean by that is they keep adding new words, new things that are regarded as hate speech. New things come along all the time. And while that happens, right, you're always going to have a human in the loop. Because in reality, you're going to have to be retraining the algorithm for the new rule, the new implementations. And there's always going to have to be that human at that stage to tell the algorithm, yep, you got it right. Good boy. It gets its reward. And I'm not joking. AIs literally get a numerical reward when they do things right. And then when it's getting it wrong, it'll be trained. It'll be showing examples. So until they get a standard, Joe, and I don't think that'll ever stop. It's always fluid, right? Words one week mean one thing. The next week they can offend people.
Right.
Until they hit that standard where this is right, this is wrong, this is what we want, this is what we don't want, then there's going to continue to be this whole up in arms, up in the air, what the hell's going on with it? Because it's just so weird. Eventually, once they do get that standard and we hit that kind of plateau, then I would imagine, due to machine learning, and Scott can speak to this as well, it should only get better and better and better. And the errors will become less and less and less because it learns from the mistakes it's made, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why it's called machine learning, right?
Yep.
It's learning and it's improving over time. And so it'll eventually get to where it's perfected. You know,
You would think.
You would think, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, you would hope so.
Yeah, you would think, you would hope. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole gist of it, right? I mean, that's the whole point of a deep fake, right? Whenever you're running one of these deep fake things, there's a little box that pops up that shows it training itself and learning, you know, comparing the photos. And at first they look all garbled and fuzzy, and you can't.
You've got to pick out the false positives and things. You see one where you're thinking, hang on a minute, that didn't even flip over on that one screen, so you have to remove that. Yeah.
But then as running it over the hours and hours and hours, you notice everything starts becoming more crisp, more clear, and then it keeps going and keeps going, and next thing you know, there's your deep fake, you know. So yeah, but that's just how it works. It just
Well, in the final segment of today's show, we're not going to create deep fakes, but we'll certainly create some AI generated horror stories, right? We'll unleash the GPT-2 on Freaky Friday. This is some of the weirdest stuff I've ever seen, Joe.
There's a point I want to make here too with this the machine learning and kind of the walls closing in, the way YouTube is operating is, you know, we're being trained.
Yeah.
Much like the machine learning as well. And we are being trained to behave a certain way in, you know, the YouTube world or the Twitterverse or in Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. And like we were saying, technology is advancing to where it's going to be more and more incorporated into our life. Here on techexplore.com, you know, much like your Spider-Goat winter jacket, just highlighting the type of advancements. Listen to this: a biocompatible magnetic skin that could enable new wearable systems. So this is it's amazing. Listen, researchers at King Abdullah University of Science and Technology have recently developed a flexible and imperceptible magnetic skin that adds permanent magnetic properties to all surfaces to which it's applied. This artificial skin, presented in a paper published in Wiley's Advanced Material Technologies journal, could have numerous interesting applications. For instance, it could enable the development of more effective tools to aid people with disabilities, help biomedical professionals to monitor their patients' vital signs, and pave the way for new consumer tech. artificial skins are all about extending our senses or abilities. Abdullah Al-Mansouri, one of the researchers who carried out the study, told Tech Explorer, a great challenge in their development, however, is that they should be imperceptible and comfortable to wear. This is very difficult to achieve reliably and durably. If we need stretchable electronics, batteries, substrates, antennas, sensors, wires, etc., we decided to remove all these delicate components from the skin itself and place them in a comfortable nearby location, i.e., inside of eyeglasses or hidden in a fabric. The artificial skin, developed under the supervision of Professor Jürgen Kosel, is magnetic, thin, and highly flexible. When it's worn by a human user, it can be easily tracked by a nearby magnetic sensor. For instance, if a user wears it on his eyelid, it allows for his eye movements to be tracked. If worn on his fingers, it can help to monitor a person's physiological responses or even to control switches without touching them. The magnetic skin we developed is made of ultra-flexible wearable magnetic material. Its unique advantage is that it eliminates the need for any electronics on the skin itself, hence reducing the complexity arising from wires, on-chip batteries, antennas. The magnetic skin can be used to perform relatively sophisticated applications, such as tracking physiological movements, i.e. the tracking of eye movements by attaching the magnetic skin on the eyelid, or contact-free user-machine interfaces and device control. Most existing artificial skin requires additional electronic components and elaborate microfabrication processes. In contrast, the magnetic skin developed by the researchers is easy to assemble, as it is made by mixing an elastomer matrix with magnetic powder and then drying this mixture at room temperature. So wow, when the simple and effective fabrication process is complete, the material is magnetized with electropermanent magnets, followed by a special procedure that's tailored around its intended application. The system is then finalized by integrating a simple, off-the-shelf magnetic sensor. How do you like that?
I do like this.
It's pretty interesting. And you can make it yourself, basically.
Yes, myself and Scott were saying in the Skype chat here, this ties in with something called haptics as well. That's going to be a big thing soon, and the whole haptic feedback kind of thing. That's where, see your like controllers for your PS4 and Xbox, where you've got the kind of rumble in it, and it gives you like that feedback, and you can sense, you can touch, you can feel the car engine kind of thing. That's haptics, basically. But the likes of this here, when you've got a virtual reality helmet on, instead of you just seeing that virtual world around you, you're going to start to get some pushback when you press an object. So it's going to feel like it's there. Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool stuff, man. Really.
And it will be able to respond. Basically, your appendages are tracked because the sensors can see it and feel it, the magnetic field, the changes. And so you can control things with your hand without touching anything.
This is literally what you see in the movies whenever you see like
Ready Player One.
Yeah, like Ready Player One.
Minority Report.
Yeah, you see them like bring up a hologram and the guy's like spinning it with his hand or something like that. This is exactly what this is going to allow people to do. You're right, Kev. I mean, haptics. It's also smart skin because it'll be connected via the internet.
Smart skin. Imagine that, Scott. Smart skin, connecting your skin to the internet, man.
I mean, it's wild, dude. It is. But you'll be able to do all kinds of gestures and control your augmented reality or virtual reality, whatever. And it reduces the bulk of like a big haptic suit system.
There's no transmission systems. You're not hooking up transmission systems to it. It's just basically magnetic field.
Yeah, it's all electromagnetic fields being detected and picked up, and it's wild, man. It's just crazy.
It's actually pretty cool, I think.
Very cool. Very cool.
Oh yeah, very cool. It is. It's really.
Really something
neat.
else along these lines. Not the same, though, guys, but still pretty cool, and so many practical uses for it. Is the 3D printed skin. that they were talking about being able to use that, deploy it on the battlefield, buy people extra time to get them to a field hospital. But that comes out into the real world, you know, road traffic accidents, something happens, you know, 3D printed skin just to give you that extra bit of time maybe till you get to the hospital or something, cover the wound up. I think that's pretty cool technology, right? Again, you're starting to help people. You're looking for solutions to things. It's the positive side of tech.
Yeah. You know, what happens when you have this electromagnetic skin on and like lightning hits really close? Probably wouldn't be
Oh, dude.
Wow, that would really be interesting. I don't know. I wonder if they've done any studies on that.
Yeah, I'm just saying that could be an issue. Just a little bit.
Don't throw that spanner into the works, Mr. Lopez.
Yeah,
Come
man.
on,
Wow,
man.
what a downer.
Look, it's okay. It's okay because I've for in my entire life I've always been rolling around in a giant lightning rod. So,
Well, there is that. I bet you that new chair of yours has got some grounding equipment on it. So that if something happens, it's just going to, it's all going to discharge down the chassis of the chair into the ground and everyone's cool, right? In fact, it'll probably go to, in fact, there might be like some kind of smart Wi-Fi device that powers up your barbecue or something if you get hit by lightning, Scott. You never know. I'm just thinking ahead, man. I'm thinking of practical uses for this kind of lightning rod that your chair doesn't have. You know?
Yes,
Indeed.
yeah.
So where now? What delights can we dive into now, boys? Because after the break, when we come back, we'll try and get the AI to generate some spooky, deep woo stories.
I sent Kev some pretty interesting screenshots of what the AI generated. He'll have to bring that up too when we get back.
I might bring that up, but that would definitely trigger algorithms. But here's an example that one of the KBS listeners sent me, okay? Good friend Alistair sent me this. And it says here, now remember, for anyone who doesn't know, what this AI program that we're going to play about with after the break does is, if you write in a paragraph, and the example that's used by OpenAI, the company that created this in the first place, is they basically fed it a paragraph about finding a species of unicorn up in the Andes Mountains, and they mysteriously spoke English, right? And it went on to tell you that, you know, it's Dr. Jorge Perez from the La Paz University. So it was able to pick out the geographical locations, and it made this whole story up, all right? It ended up saying that it's actually more common than you think for people in South America to have liaisons with unicorns than was once imagined. I'm not even making that up. They made a case for people laugh at me because I'm a Highlander with sheep. I never imagined that small Peruvian men used to chase about unicorns. But according to the AI, that's what happens, okay? So this one here, Alistair wrote in, I listen to KBS and have done for the past 5 years. Kev provides up to, and see, there's even a spelling mistake in here, right? It's meant to say up-to-date information, but it says Kev provides up to information regarding science, space, and conspiracy news. So that's pretty cool, right? What did the AI do to complete that story? Well, it said, get this. So, is the world going to end, and how? Kev has a theory, but he also suggests that many things could happen. The world we know right now, he says, is an illusion, and there's no reason to believe that the world is going to continue into the future unless it makes sense. However, he does have a number of good suggestions. Here is what he has to say. When we wake up, I believe we will be able to see this planet turning black and green and the sun going dark, as predicted, and it will end, and we can look forward to peace on this planet. That was the AI that came up with it.
So when Neo views when Neo views the Matrix, isn't it black and green?
Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty weird, right? Pretty weird. And the first day I done it on the stream, I freaked myself out because we'd started the previous day's stream looking at a James Corbett video about deepfakes. And then the next day we found this program, and I put in like Kev Baker's been a radio show host. I cover things from geopolitics to quantum physics. And then The whole article that the AI produced after that was about James Corbett being a conspiracy theorist. Now, how does that randomly get that from a data set? And this one, it's
don't know.
It's not the OpenAI one that we're going to be using after the break. It's a very basic version that's been put together using the same code, using the white paper, the same science, the same generative adversarial networks. It's not been trained.
They read the white paper. They read the white paper, and then they basically were able to deduce on how to do it themselves, and they pretty much made a pretty good representation.
The weird thing is about the actual main one, the GPT-2, not Musk, because Musk has nothing to do with OpenAI anymore. But when you look into how they actually done it, they gave it all of the text that's on Reddit. Now, not only did they give it all of the text to analyze on Reddit, every link, every website that was linked to from Reddit as well, it was able to analyze the text and the language on there. Now, remember, it's not looking at the content. It's not looking at like crazy like LARPs or conspiracies. It's just looking at what patterns emerge in language. If you write the word the statistical chance of the next word being whatever, okay, depending on the subject matter. So they decided, well, do we train it specifically, or do we just like give it this vast amount of data, let it run wild, and we'll see what comes out the other end? Well, they done both. And when they let it run wild and to see what comes out the other end, you guessed it, that's when it was most effective. They had no idea how it was able to do this the way it was doing it. Wow. And not only that, you can press generate every time and it's going to come up with something entirely unique.
It just shows that when you don't put parameters on it, then the results are much more
robust.
Yeah, it seems to get you closer to where they were.
I mean, think about it, though. It's got a bigger data set.
Well, actually, yeah. It's not even so much the data set, Joe. It's the fact that the data is unsorted, as opposed to them specifically taking like some. What they do is they break the data sets into, like questions or looking at specific ways text goes, a conversation, a news report, different types of prose. But what they did in this case, it has access
to the same data set. Yeah. It just with one, it has, it doesn't have any sort of parameters on what to do with the data set, right. And then the other one, it's kind of told what to do with the data set.
Yeah, if you're going to get techie, it's labeled and unlabeled. That's what they call it in their world. Labeled data, unlabeled. And it turns out when you don't label the data, it turns out a lot better than when you did label it. And that shouldn't be the case, and that should freak people out. And I think that's why they said, okay, then, no way are we releasing this. We don't even know how this is working. This is bizarre, right. So we're almost on the break, folks. We're going to come back on the other side and we're going to get freaky with GPT-2, or at least a variant of it. And what's GPT-2? Well, they say it's one of the most dangerous AI text programs out there. Why is it dangerous? Yeah, it makes fake news, but it also is able to imitate me and you, which makes it impossible for companies to detect bots. We'll be back after the break. Don't go anywhere. It's going to get real freaky from here on in. We'll be right back. There we go, folks. We're on the break. Yeah. I'll fire up the old the unicorns. This is bizarre, though. It's really bizarre. I don't know if I'm comfortable with this, Joe.
Is this what you're doing right now, right? This is the GPT-2. This is the one they let run wild?
No, this was the one. Okay, I'll explain better when we come back onto TFR.
Okay.
But the new one that they've created, it's hard to tell if they let that one run wild the same as the original one did. What they did was they took 14 million web pages. So all of the text from 14 million web pages, and they may have labeled it, they may not have. I'll need to dig deeper into that, but it's not as good as GPT-2, Scott, is it?
Well, essentially, Joe, what they did was it was like some university students. They read the white papers from GPT-2,
right?
And they pretty much kind of figured out what they needed to do to emulate it or to code their own version based off the white papers. So that's what this is. It's kind of like a GPT-2 knockoff. So we're not sure if it's exactly as effective as GPT-2, but it's based off the same white paper information. It's based off the same kind of coding and everything that they pretty much figured out that they needed to do to get it to act in a similar fashion. So that's what this is. It's basically as close as you can get to actually using GPT-2 yourself, since they never released it, right? Since Elon said no, it's too dangerous to release. But these guys went ahead and basically tried to recreate it as best as they could. So that's what we're playing around.
I got you. Okay.
I'm just trying it out here. I'm just trying a little test one here on the back end, you know? Yeah. yeah. I've got it. It's done it. It's come up with a good one. It's come up with a good one, folks. This is going to be a cracker. When we come back, we'll get right back into this. And if people in the chat room at YouTube, if you want to write maybe 3 or 4 sentences, like you're about to start a story, it could be a love story.
You don't even have to do that, because the one I sent was just one sentence.
Yeah. See, the reason I was doing it, I was giving it more, Scott. I was trying to give it more of a kind of a test, kind of a specimen to look for, like what we're talking about and that kind of Germanus. Hang on now. Oh, there's no message with it, and I'm disappointed in that because Scott, I've sacked Brian, Scott. Yeah,
what was wrong with Brian?
What's wrong with Brian? Hang on. Okay, I'm going to test a widget. You'll hear why I sacked Brian. Okay, check this out. Right. Wait.
This is a test super chat alert for £25.
We've got an Aussie doing it. I love the Australian accent, dude.
I see. So
I'm an Australian fan. For all the Australians out there, you know.
The seductive Aussie accent took precedent over NLG.
Yeah.
If AOC had an Aussie accent, I would be defeated, guys. I'd be a blubbering idiot. I really would. But we're about to go back live to TFR HQ. Live to the mothership. Are we ready, boys? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Scotty, Wookie is up. Burp, burp. Burp, burp, burp. There it is. There it is. Final segment on today's Freaky Friday.
Yeah.
But the woo doesn't stop here. No. Because after Freaky Friday wraps up, then 3 short minutes you have to wait, and we will have Paranormal Portal going out live on TFRlive.com, Truth Frequency Radio, where silence is consent. And there's certainly no shutting up me and the guys here. And this is where I've been waiting for this part of the show.
Oh, this is great. I can't wait to see what talk to the Transformer.
Yeah, talk to the Transformer. But before we get there, right, may have new listeners. And what we're talking about is an AI that basically is able to write text. And the way it does that is you give it a sample, you give it a sentence, you give it a paragraph. And what it does with that paragraph is, from all of the language that it's analysed in the data sets that it's been fed from Reddit, and in the case of the one we're going to be looking at from 14 million websites, it's pretty much able to complete the story as it sees fit.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So it says here, better language models and their implications. And this comes from OpenAI. It says, we've trained a large-scale, unsupervised language model which generates coherent paragraphs of text, achieves state-of-the-art performance on many language modeling benchmarks, and performs rudimentary reading comprehension, machine translation, question answering, and summarization, all without task-specific training. So what they've done was
unleashed.
It was unleashed in the wild, Scott. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I like that. It was allowed to run wild. It sounds better. So without getting into too much of the whole actual, the kind of techie side of things, let's see an example. And it was said at the time in the media that, this unicorn AI, I've called it that myself, the unicorn AI that was too dangerous. Well, there's a reason they called it the unicorn AI. And what the scientists done was they gave GPT-2, which is generative, I've got it written down somewhere. I'll go back and get it in a minute, right? But
Probably generative procedural text or something like
That's
that.
exactly what it is, Scott. Exactly. In a nutshell. You got it. You got it, right? So it says here, this is what the humans put. And I know there's probably some people on the stream and things have heard me doing this one story before, but I think it's important to go over this to give an idea before we unleash our own stories, right? So the scientists said, in a shocking finding, scientists discovered a herd of unicorns living in a remote, previously unexplored valley in the Andes Mountains. Now, even more surprising to the researchers was the fact that the unicorns spoke perfect English. So at that point, the humans step away. They press the button, and to finish this report, this is what the AI said. The scientist named the population after their distinctive horn, Ovid's unicorn. These four-horned, silver-white unicorns were previously unknown to science. Now, after almost 2 centuries, the mystery of what sparked this odd phenomenon is finally solved. Dr. Jorge Perez, an evolutionary biologist from the University of La Paz, and several companions were exploring the Andes Mountains when they found a small valley with no other animals or humans. Perez noticed that the valley had appeared to be a natural fountain, surrounded by 2 peaks of rock and silver snow. Perez and the others then ventured further into the valley. By the time we reached the top of one peak, the water looked blue, with some crystals on top, said Perez. Perez and his friends were astonished to see the unicorn herd. These creatures could be seen from the air without having to move too much to see them. They were so close they could touch their horns. Now, while examining these bizarre creatures, the scientists discovered that the creature also spoke some fairly regular English. And Perez said, quote, "We can see, for example, that they have a common dialect, or a common language, something like a dialect or a dialectic." Now, Dr. Perez believes the unicorns may have originated in Argentina, where the animals were believed to be the descendants of a lost race of people who lived there before the arrival of humans in those parts of South America. Now, while their origins are still unclear, some believe that perhaps the creatures were created when a man and a unicorn met each other in a time before human civilization. And according to Perez, in South America, such incidents seem to be quite common. However, Perez also pointed out that it's likely that the only way of knowing to be sure if unicorns are indeed the descendants of a lost alien race is through DNA. Quote, "But they seem to be able to communicate in English quite well, which I believe is a sign of evolution, or at least a change in social organization," said the scientist. Now, that is so profound for a number of reasons, but the one I'm going to point out, right? In the opening, in the sample text they gave it, they mentioned the Andes Mountains. Now, in split seconds, in the time it takes this AI to come up with stories, it was able to pick that out, the Andes Mountains, and then it generated a fictional name that was local specific, Dr. Jorge Perez, and it picked out the evolutionary biologist from the University of La Paz. Again,
I mean, that's crazy.
Keeping it local. You know what I'm saying? That this is how crazy it gets.
It's like as deep fake as it gets, dude.
Exactly, right? And I'm sure there's absolutely no unicorns getting defiled by Argentinian people or Peruvian men right now as we speak. I hope not.
Speak English.
English-speaking four-horned unicorns. Terrifying. But what we done during the break is, well, what happened the other day was I'd covered this, and then the day after we'd spoke about it, we found out that there was a program that had been released by 2 scientists. They had got their hands on the white paper, and they had basically put together their own version of GPT-2. Now, they call it Talk to Transformer, because you find this type of neural network that they're talking about here. In techie language, they call it a transformer. So what you do here is you can give it 1 sentence, you can give it a couple of sentences. But what I've done for Freaky Friday kind of sake is we've kept it woo specific, right? We're going to get kind of creepy
Why
with
not?
this. Well, what I typed was, there was once a haunted house in the Highlands of Scotland. It was once the home of the most evil man on earth, the Beast 666, Aleister Crowley. Now, it remains haunted to this day, and there are many reports of paranormal activity. So that's where I stop. And I clicked the generate button, and this is what it came up with. The haunted house is still there, but is no longer open. It has since been closed by the council. For more information, please see this. The Scottish Rite of Freemasonry also had a house of horrors in Glasgow, and it was a very dark and gloomy house in St. Enoch Church. There's a lot to be said as to where the place was located, with some claiming that the house is in a graveyard outside of town. Others claim that the house is in the Highlands, Scotland, while others claim the place is in Glasgow, an area with many paranormal reports. The Scottish Rite of Freemasonry website has a lot of material on the house. You are recommended to visit the house and explore with an open mind. And it says there's a related article called Another Haunted Place in Glasgow. And it goes on to talk about the house in St. Enoch Church in Glasgow was known as that of Crowley's most wicked incarnation, his satanic altar.
Oh, wow.
All of that from there was a haunted house in the Highlands. So it's one thing me doing this, but we want all of your suggestions as well. So Scott, give me something. Joe, give me something, and we'll see what it comes up with, dude. Come on.
What do you think, Joe? Hey, give it something about giants.
Okay, then. What do you think, Joe? Come on, help me out here, man. Help me out in the giant stuff.
I'm working on it.
There are several earthworks and mounds in the USA that it is rumored were built by giants. The Smithsonian is said to have hidden any evidence that giants ever existed. Right, here we go. Now, here we go. You ready? I'll do my magic. Hit the button. And we will see now, as you can see, it actually starts. You can watch it going down. So it says here, and we'll read out the bit I typed again. There are several earthworks and mounds in the USA that it is rumoured were built by giants. The Smithsonian is said to have hidden evidence that giants ever existed. Giants of myth, of legend, of mythology, of folklore are a universal theme in human culture. They are all part of the same myth. The giants and their creatures and the myths that surround them can reveal the truths about man and the nature of his world.
Wow.
There are so many giants in fiction that it's not surprising that many other great works have been written based on their myths. There are so few known examples of giants that we can only guess what they might have been made out to be. Yet even without those mythical giants, they would still have been a large force with a large set of myths and legends to give us. How many giants were on the earth? And what myths, legends, and beliefs about them were there? This site deals with the answers to these questions. As we go through this site, we will discover many of the myths. Boom.
Yeah.
Now, okay, it's not perfect English, but my point the other day on the stream was, if you were just reading some of these, like, articles, these bits of text it comes up with, I'm sorry, but I would definitely not know if I'm looking at an AI or a human at times. Especially, you know, some of them are so uncannily perfect, because you could generate again, and it's going to come up with an entirely different kind of story. It's weird, guys. It's kind of spooky.
Yeah, and the more you do this, the more people use this program, you know, talk to Transformers, the more they're teaching it. So this will just keep,
right.
yeah, so this will just keep getting better and better and better as more people actually go to the site and utilize it, and the more text it runs through and everything. So, I mean, think about it. If we were to go and visit this site, say it's still up 5 years from now, it'll be banging out text that we really have no idea was even written by a generative AI. You know what I mean? So,
And that's the
um,
problem, Scott, isn't it? Because it's one thing us not being able to pick it out, but the big worry, guys, is that even algorithms won't be able to spot what's real and what's not.
Right.
And this is what worries me about this, about deep fakes, about the deep fake audios as well. You know, it's already hard enough for people like us to differentiate between what's real and what's not. And we're quite well versed about misinfo, disinfo, Photoshop fakes, all the rest of it. But we're still in the minority when it comes to the 7 billion on the planet. And what happens when you're everyday Joe? I know some people call them NPCs. I find that a bit derogatory to talk about people who maybe are just a bit slower at waking up than us. But what happens when it gets to the point where they literally are throwing their hands up in the air and saying, we don't know what to believe anymore. We don't know what to trust. Well, that's where you see places like YouTube with their authoritative sources. You see how they'll be able to drive everyone eventually to one.
Right down the throat. Blip.
Yeah, you can't trust what you see online, so you come to us, the progenitors of truth, and it'll be one of the mainstream outlets. It'll be the Ministry of Truth with one of the governments. It'll be something like that. You see how that's my fear about this. As cool as it is, eventually people won't know what to believe. Be it deep fakes, be it anything.
I think we're there, though, honestly, because you see more and more coverage coming out about this deep fake capability and just how detrimental it is, because you can't believe what you see and what you hear. You know, can't trust your senses. That's pretty wild. You know,
I mean, we already have a big enough problem of humans producing fake news, right? And writing false stories. You know, and now you throw into the fact that you have artificial intelligence, you know, doing the same thing, or just that can generate can generate an article completely at random that looks like it was written by a human. I mean, yeah, it's crazy, you know. And you're right, Joe. I mean, I think we're definitely already sort of into this to where
I mean, I don't trust what I see and what I hear. Everything now that I look at, I always ask myself, how am I being manipulated right now?
Exactly. That's my first thought too.
And it's almost like, damn, because think about it, Scotty. You start going down that road, and then it becomes, well, then why is it being like this and like that? And like, you end up going crazy. You got to be careful. But
yeah, exactly.
The fear is valid in that you can't believe what you see oftentimes, and you don't know what's real or what the agenda is behind that information being out in the first place. You know, why was it leaked? What was said? And, you know, what's the purpose of it? What are they trying to do?
Exactly.
It seems now everything has purpose there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and it's sad that we're at that point now. We're at a point in, you know, in history and in society to where we're at a point to where we can't trust anything, and we have to, like, we can't just look at something and go, oh, okay, well, that looks legit. We're always on guard, right? We're always like, well, what's the agenda behind this? What are they trying to do? Why is this being pushed on me? You know? And, you know, now that you have these kind of programs like, you know, like this GPT-2 or, you know, whatever sort of iteration of it ends up really showing up in the wild. I mean, we have this talk to transformer thing, and which is, you know, a fun little sort of demonstration of it. But, you know, who's going to really start utilizing this stuff and implementing it in nefarious ways, you know? Um, I don't know, you know, but it's the genie's out of the bottle now.
It certainly does appear that way.
It's out of the bottle. I mean, you've got these two guys that were able to, or you know, these university students that were able to read the white paper and go, okay, I think we kind of figured out what they did over at OpenAI to get this thing going, and looks like they've created amazing, a pretty good version. Yeah, and so yeah, it is the genie's out of the bottle, and how this unfolds over the next couple of years is going to be very interesting to see.
Only going to get more and more creepy and bizarre as time goes on, I imagine. Really weird. Will we try one more? What will we try? What will we try now? We'll try and ask it.
Did you want to pull up the screenshot? We won't say the name, but
hang on, I'll go and get it, Scott. Yeah, no problems, man. I'll dip the toe into the.
A Dorian is now an extremely dangerous Category 4.
Nice.
Ooh.
Scott, you're going to be busy over the weekend, dude. Now, where can people catch you over the weekend, Scott, for like up-to-date coverage of
in
this,
his
man?
chair.
Oh, boom, boom. That was a good one. Oh, damn. I don't know if it's a human or it's a unicorn AI I'm talking to here.
He's got to catch up. He's catching up from all those uncomfortable nights and days.
Quite right as well, man.
You're very correct on that, Joe. No, if you don't already follow me on Facebook or have me added as a friend or whatever, you can go to Facebook.com/ScottyLPZ, and I will be probably doing as the hurricane starts getting closer and getting closer to making landfall, I'll be doing live streams and updates and stuff on it. So
okay, now just give me a minute, Scott, because you know what I do here, right? You've seen what I do in this kind of instance. I like to kind of color in some of the dodgy words and stuff like that, man. You know what I mean? Oh, it doesn't support this, right? What I'm going to do is
good. Yeah, come on, you got to be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm just going to read it out, and I'm going to call it the 17th letter of the alphabet. And if people don't know what I'm talking about, just go and look at your alphabet, figure out the 17th letter, and all will become clear. Okay. So Scott said to the GPT-2, he said the 17th letter of the alphabet is an alleged patriot inside government exposing and providing information on the, quote, deep state via posts on the 8chan messaging boards. So at that point, the AI takes over. What did it come up with? Is it going to blow people's heads? It says, we know that he was given a position in the Secret Service by the Obama administration. Since then, he became the poster boy for the fake resistance, having been interviewed extensively by CNN and MSNBC in 2016. In recent months, he has been caught using his internet alias to spread information and support the fake resistance movement online. He made numerous videos of himself and other fake patriots saying, "This will be fun. We're starting at square one," and in brackets, or as they call it in 17th letter of the language of the alphabet language, kill brackets open the 8chan resistance timeline. Kill close brackets. Close the kill brackets, man. After being caught on video with another fake resistance member trying to convince others that Trump will make good on his campaign promises, Anonymous has issued their own challenge to him. Your challenge to the resistance: stop the fake opposition. Stop the false flag or false flag of resistance. Stop the Trump supporters of darkness that can't see the light. Wow. Stop the fake resistance. You guys are losing control. You're not winning. Open kill brackets. Anonymous Twitter challenge. Close the kill brackets as the government and mainstream media. And there it finishes. How bizarre. Who knew that Obama had appointed on me?
How fitting is that? I mean, how fitting is that even even the AI was able to go, maybe this is a LARP. Maybe this is a cognitive infiltration.
What I find interesting as well, Scott, is right. It says that the 17th letter of the alphabet was interviewed extensively on CNN and MSNBC in 2016, right? Now, when did Pamphlet and On get interviewed by InfoWars? Because in reality, that was the 17th letter of the alphabet getting interviewed exclusively about the LARP that he's behind, right? I don't know if it was 2016 or not. It probably wasn't back then, but it'd be funny if it was. But one thing about the 17th letter of the alphabet that I will say is that I'll bring it up here. I better check it so people know I'm not lying. Hang on.
Yes.
Google Trends. This is always a good handy tool to go and check, folks. But if you go to Google Trends and you hang on now, type in that word we're talking about, the 17th letter of the alphabet.
Hang
on now, Scott. Hang on. Super highlighter. Where's the black one? We'll get the black up. I'll need to hide that word because it'll trigger things. Okay, so if you look here, folks, I'm going to bring it on the screen now. This is the trends for that 17th letter of the alphabet. And as you can see, it's nearly dead. It's nearly gone. Nobody has any interest in this anymore. Only the real hardcore people that have been convinced to the point where there will be no convincing them. They're the ones that are still hanging on. That's that core kind of group that will never, ever wake up to what this is. Even if you were to like get Donald Trump to sit down and say to them, listen, it's nothing to do with us. They would still say, no, you're lying. You're part of the deep state because we know the 17th letter of the alphabet. It's real. So
wow.
The good news is, though, as you can see, and in fact, if we increase this a little bit, wait till I turn off close that. If we increase it over time, we'll go to the past 5 years. You see this big spike here?
Yeah, what does that mean?
And I thank Unirock for showing me this. That was when they appeared on InfoWars. Without InfoWars, that one conspiracy that's still doing the rounds right now, it would have probably just tapered off pretty quickly. But then
like
like it is now. But I imagine with the elections coming up, Joe, very soon, there'll be a little spike again, probably not as high as this one. But you've still got people like Owen Schroyer and some of the other ones at InfoWars that refuse to disavow themselves from it. They refuse to say that it's definitely something fake. And that keeps people going. And I know what they're doing. They're trying to appease some of the Patriot audience they have that are into it. I get that. You know, they don't want to alienate a large segment of the audience at a time when they're getting banned everywhere anyway. So I get it, right? But
right.
I do expect a little resurgence, but not much, dude. It's just ridiculous. So with that said, we are out of time. Can you believe it? Until next week, wherever you are, make it TFR. Denny, touch that dial. And for everyone over on the YouTubes right now, let me thank all of you. Let me thank all of you for hanging out with us here today. And Neil Bowie says before we go, can AI mess with your computer and other devices? As every time I try to watch the Kev Baker show, my Wi-Fi goes off. An AI do such a thing? Neil, I'm sure there probably are programs out there that could do that, but I honestly, and I'm not saying this to put myself or the guys down, right? We're no threat to the cabal. I don't think they're sitting at like DARPA or some underground facility going, we need to take down that Baker. If we don't take down that Baker, Lopez and Joe Joseph, our plans are doomed. Our century-long plan is doomed.
We're like, hey, get those guys again. We enjoy listening to them.
Mm-hmm. Somebody mentioned CERN in the chat room. Don't worry about CERN for a good few years. They're upgrading right now. I know there'll be people that push CERN all the time because, hey, that's their shtick. It's maybe all they've got to talk about. But when the place is closed down, I just think it's like flogging a dead particle accelerator, right? You know, it's like talking about a toaster that's not been plugged in for about 5 years. It's not interesting. You can only
Nothing
say,
interesting there.
yeah, you can only go over the same woo so many times before.
Exactly.
Exactly, man. That's why I'm glad we're not one-trick ponies on here. We can
Thank
cover
God.
anything, or else you're pretty limited. You know, and if you've got a series of books that claims that nothing ever happens in the world, guess what happens anytime something happens? You're going to find ways to say, well, that thing never happened, so you get your book going out. You see how all this kind of stuff
I see
works?
how it works. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know it sounds highly cynical, but I look at it as the experience of 3 veterans of the original InfoWar.
Oh my.
You like that? You like that, Joe? Pull up a sandbag. I'll tell you a story. I remember when algorithms weren't like this, my friend. Let me tell you.
I remember when there weren't algorithms. So, you know.
War says we need new woo. I've got so much woo it makes my head hurt. We'll get into more woo, War, but we're out of time here. So what I'm going to do is, and I blame Kristen for this simulcast today. Kristen, it was your fault. You twisted my arm into doing this. You're a bully. Don't let it be said that women can't bully men, folks. They've got the hammer now. They've even been given Thor's hammer. They've got wrenches in my chat room. They've got Thor's hammer in the Marvel universe. What the hell is going to happen next? Who knows? But we'll be back tomorrow. And I may, since I've got that streaming bug now and Scott's going to start laughing, I may even do an afternoon coffee break stream as well, because, little secret, Joe, I am absolutely loving the whole streaming shit, man. This is the way to go, dude.
I figured you would. And you know what? You're built for it.
I don't know. Is that a compliment?
It's the beard.
Yeah, I told him he's totally in his element now. He's falling into it, and he's just enjoying it. You could see the enjoyment on his face.
Oh, I do. Especially when you've got the audience and we're all just kind of hanging out and chilling out. I think it's pretty cool.
That and the Just for Men you put in your hair. What is that, dude?
Dude, that's not just for men. Look at my beard, man.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like 5 different colors. Do you know what Anne said to me? She said, what you try to do, grow a pride beard? Because it's got that many colors in it, man. And then they were saying in the chat room, you know, I need to start dyeing my beard. I would rather shave my whole body head to toe than start dyeing parts of my beard.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what.
You gotta go with that natural color, man.
Yeah,
you gotta go with the
sounds good. I would love to see the shaved from head to toe Cap Baker.
Joe, trust me, from like the neck down, oh, silky smooth, my friend. Manscaping is a go-go in Glasgow, man. Hey, come on, dude. It's cleanliness, if nothing else, right?
I get it. But
listen, Anne likes that prepubescent look where I don't have a hair on my body. What can I say? Have a go at her. It's not my fault.
What I'm saying is, finish the job, man.
You want me to take it off, Joe?
And the hair, too.
No way, man. No way, dude. No way.
All of it.
I'm trying to get myself looking the part for when I'm like making my way up through Mexico into like America, man. Scotty Lopez thinks I'm like, he's ready to adopt me as like some kind of honorary Mexican, dude.
We're ready to drive down to El Paso and smuggle Kev across the border.
I see how it is. Okay. Well, yeah, then you got to have the beard.
It's an essential. It's a must, right? So, folks,
it's your Antonio Banderas beard.
Hey, man, if I looked like Antonio Banderas, I wouldn't be hanging about on YouTube every day. Let me tell you that, all right? But, folks, we're out of time. It's been a blast hanging out with all of you today. Remember, if you want to support the stream, but you don't have to, various ways to do it in the links below. We need 8 more. I think it's 8 more members now before we unlock Anne's shoe. Probably one of the most anticipated emojis since the Shrek, to be honest with you. So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow on the live stream, maybe back tomorrow daytime, I don't know. Remember to check out Twitter, check out Facebook for all the updates, and ring the bell. We started the live stream today, Joe, before you came, and it was like 2 people in there. And then one of the mods told me, for some reason, the notification didn't go out. So we stopped the stream, we started again, and within seconds, there was like 50 people in here. So, yeah, that's something we're going to have to keep our eye on over time. But we'll be back tomorrow. More craziness, more fun. And until then, I'll play you out with... I know Joe hates my tunes, but we all love my tunes here, right?
La, la, la.